Okay. You're so smart. You did it. Way to go. She did it, guys.
Maybe. Let's see. Don't start yet.
Don't jinx it.
Don't jinx it. Don't start yet. I can ask.
It's like I can text Nakia too.
No, it says it's live. I think we're live. I think we're ready.
Are we recording? Are we live?
We are live.
Ready to go?
Yes.
For those individuals just joining us, we apologize for the technical difficulties. The time now is 6:35, and we're going to convene our regularly scheduled RCS board meeting. If everyone would like to please stand, face the flag, and help us recite the pledge of allegiance. You close the mic.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thanks everybody for being in attendance, whether it's in person, via remote, or through live streaming. Before we begin, just a couple of things I need to announce. First and foremost is that under the governor's proclamation, at 6:40, we are allowed to have public attended meetings as long as we have 50 or less. With our meeting place, unfortunately, to ensure that we have social distancing, we can only have 18 public in addition to the regular board people. Also, too, I really appreciate everybody wearing masks because that is a requirement to attend our meeting in person. Also, too, we use scan for temperatures, so thank you all for participating that way. Second thing, all the comments, you have pretty much three options. First option is you can email your name and what you would like for us to read. Email that to info@rcs137.org. And as long as we receive it 2 hours before the meeting, we can make sure that it's read during the public forum. The second way you can do that is you can email your full name or phone number to info@rcs137.org 2 hours before the board meeting. And then what we will do is we enter the public forum portion of the meeting. I will call you, therefore you can voice your comments over the phone. And the third way is, of course, if you're attending in person, then you sign the form, and then we'll come to the public forum. We'll call your name. You can approach the board that way.
Need you to speak up louder.
I just got it.
Yeah, you have to speak louder. Yep, right on it.
Okay.
Yep, there you
Is this
go.
better?
Yes. Yay. Yep.
Next thing I would like to mention is that for the board members, if you could, when we do the roll call for attendance, if you could, in addition to saying present, if you would also state how you are attending. For example, if you call for Mr. Brotherson, you can say present in person, or if you're attending via remote, say your name, attending remote. That way we have it for record. The minutes must reflect each board member participating in the meeting by announcing themselves present and stating whether they're attending remotely or in person. That's the new requirement. Without further ado, then, Anna, if you'd like to take the roll call so we get our attendance.
Andy Graham,
Gotta be louder. Still louder.
Here, and I'm remote.
John Brotherton,
Here, present.
Bill Sweat,
Present here.
Mark Keys,
Here, attending remotely.
thank you. Joan Fitzgerald, here, present. Joe Robinson,
Here, present.
and Sandra Ulot.
You gotta unmute yourself, Sandra.
Here, attending remotely.
Therefore, everyone's in attendance. If there is a quorum of board members present participating in the meeting, so therefore, that the meetings reflect that, and we can end with the meeting. In addition to the requirements for the open meeting under OMA, we're also to keep verbatim records of the open meeting by recording it and making it open and available to the public under all provisions of the OMA. This is occurring now as the meeting is being recorded and is now live on Rancho City Schools Facebook, and later there will be a link posted to our website through YouTube. Lastly, all votes must be conducted by roll call vote. There's one exception though, and that is to adjourn the meeting. I can use unanimous consent. But for the most part, anything we're taking action on, we will be doing roll call votes for everything. I'd like to thank everyone for complying with the mask and temperature taking tonight. And with that, we can move on to item number 2.
You gotta be
Is that
louder.
better?
You have to be louder.
Oh, I've got to be way
You have to
louder.
be way
Okay.
louder, please.
And I think I'm yelling.
No, no.
We'll move on to item number 2. It's an action item. Right here, it's has every board member had a chance to review the agenda? Anybody have any questions, comments, changes, deletions other than to remove item number 18 and 19, which is closed session from the agenda?
I'll make a motion that we approve the agenda with modifications, removing items 18 and 19.
Yes.
Or is it down here, 19?
Yep, you're right. 18, 19.
18, 19.
Sorry.
18, 19.
Okay, the motion was made by Ms. Fitzgerald. Anyone heard a second?
I'll
Second.
second that.
Seconded by Mr. Keys. He was first on the draw. Your roll call vote, please.
Graham. Andy Graham,
There you go.
Aye.
Ulot,
Aye.
Brotherton,
Aye.
Fitzgerald,
Aye.
Keys,
Aye.
Robinson,
Aye.
Sweat,
Aye. Different forums. One will be after the presentation, and there's those who want to approach the board regarding the presentation and the back to school plan. That should be your opportunity to speak then, and then we'll move to the other public forum. We'll take any other issues. So
Okay, I'll go ahead and get started. So while we're getting ready for the presentation, Bill already talked to you about the order of the events for this topic. So without further ado, we'll just jump right on into 2020-2021 school year, and what will this school year look like? We hope that you hear one message loud and clear through this whole entire presentation. There is nothing that our staff, that's our custodians, our teachers, our teaching assistants, there is nothing that they want more than to return to school in full, 100% every day. This, the pandemic and all that goes with it, is hard. It is complex, it's burdensome for everyone, parents, staff, and children. If we felt that we could successfully and safely return to school 100%, we would. No one wants anything except to go back to normal. Please don't let the frustrations of the schedule and other guidelines take away from the teachers' work. In a bit, you are going to see a sample of the impressive work that they have done. You will understand so much more about our plan and our new way of doing school, temporarily, I hope. Next screen. So at RCS, we feel strongly that the options that we have that we want to deliver is high quality education balanced with that safety issue for all of our students and staff. We are acutely aware that whatever models are approved, it will have a major impact on families. Two of the biggest changes and challenges for families is obviously making a decision for what is best for your family or your student, and then childcare. Next slide. So ISBE and the State Health Department on June 23rd provided guidance for phase 4. So I'll run through those very quickly because you have seen these probably before, and we will talk about what this really means for RCS in a little bit. So PPEs, that means including face coverings, which specifically means masks, prohibiting more than 50 people in one space, social distancing as much as possible, symptom screenings and temperature checks, or self-certify before entering the school buildings, and an increase in the cleaning and disinfection. So ISBE strongly encourages districts return to in-person instruction following these guidelines, and has allowed for each district to determine to what extent that can happen. Since June 23rd, just a side note, this guidance was clarified or revised 4 times just in 1 week. It will probably continue to happen. We've heard interesting rumors about an announcement maybe tomorrow by the governor. I don't know what that is. So we just need patience, flexibility, and understanding that there are many things not within our control. Next slide. So what have we been doing? We have been doing so much. Teacher committees at elementary and junior high level they're preparing lessons. This started as early as April in some manner. Surveys for teachers and so many Zoom meetings. We've gotten very good at Zoom meetings. Parent surveys, I want to just summarize what those results were. One question asked if they would send their students to school, and 38% said they would not send their students to school. For educational programming, kind of into broken up into 3 areas, main areas. 32% stated they wanted students in school 5 hours every day, knowing that social distancing would then be a challenge. 26% stated that they want full at-home learning, so remote learning. And 26% said alternating days, 2 days a week for in-person instruction. Next slide. So we are recommending tonight 3 options for families. There's really 2 options, and I don't like to talk about the third one, but it is an option for families. So the first option is called Blended Academy. It stands for Blended Education. This is the hybrid model. Students attend for approximately 4 hours in the morning, and there are going to be 2 groups of students, and that breaks down into an A day and a B day. A day would attend Tuesday, Thursday, and B day would attend Wednesday, Fridays. There will be 1 additional hour at home of learning provided on their A day or B day, whichever day they attend, and Mondays is all students work remotely from home. There are just some side notes to all of this. Some students with IEPs may be offered the option for daily instruction Tuesday through Friday morning, so they get to attend A and B day. All students will be provided a device and a hotspot if needed. Pre-K, we're still working on pre-K. We recently received a little bit of guidance, but we're still working on those. The plan at this time would be to have AM and PM, like they already have, AM and PM, but it would be for 2 hours. And then they'll do some remote learning as well with a 3-year-old. Class size for all of these programs will be about 10 to 11 per class. So the second option, next slide, is called Learn Academy. That stands for, and yes, it's a little bit of a stretch, but learner engagement at home in Rantoul. So it's a little stretch, but we liked it. This is 100% learning at home and no time on campus. Instruction is provided by our teachers. Just like the Blended Academy, all students will be provided a device and internet if needed. The last choice is not one that we hope parents choose, but you can always choose to withdraw your child from RCS, which means there will be no connection to RCS. Next slide. So now we are going to hear, uh-oh, what happened to my microphone? So now we're going to, oh no, hold on, we'll switch out. It's time for video anyway, so.
It just, yeah, it's on some kind of a timer. It just shuts down.
Okay. Let's try, oh, there we are. That was easy. Now we're gonna hear from some of our elementary teachers. Jen is gonna work on setting up a video for us. We do have some teachers here tonight, but I'm gonna talk to you, as she's looking at this, setting up the video, I'm going to tell you who the committee members are. So for pre-K, we have Morgan Reese, Megan Brazelton, and Lucy Hall. For kindergarten, we have Jessica Locke, Kylie Miller. So for first through fifth grade, we have Carissa Culbertson, Taylor Vogelsang, Lisa Heiser, Jackie Huntley, Allison Owens, Stevie Corda, Nikki Pratt, and Misty Denny. For support, we have Patricia Valente for bilingual, Kelly Bowden and Emily McMillan for special ed, Nikia Benson and Dana Perkins for tech, Lindsay Rubach, Jenny Jameson, and Mary Grant for instructional support. So we'll go ahead and let the video play, and I turn mine off.
Just fine.
No, technology.
Yeah, we know what it is. Yeah.
Hi, this is Morgan. I'm here to talk about pre-K and our hybrid model we have created for this year. First, talk about our Ed Academy, which will be our in-person learning combined with some online events. In our classrooms, we have very young students, so the students will need their own assigned spaces. We have opted to use tape or possibly kid tools on the floor with a pillow that can be cleaned out of desks, since they'll be interacting with materials and working with different things. We've working on the ground would be a option for them. We want to still include all our essential elements of our day following our play-based creative curriculum. So this includes meeting, a study, where we'll look at different things, clothes, things, boxes, different things, and a story. And these can also be done with the classroom, be done by the teacher meeting at the front of the room. Students need individual materials. For example, if we are talking about clothes, they would all receive their own individual materials in a basket that they set aside for their use throughout the day. Small groups, which we typically do every day, we could still implement with the classroom with our teacher and teaching assistants. We'll be able to provide visual materials through students that are maybe kind of near each other. They will still be spread out, but envisioning that the teacher could kind of be in the middle of a group of students and will guide them through a small group lesson even from a distance. And we also do music and movement daily that can be incorporated using our smart board. All of our classrooms have those, and students can stay in their defined spaces. The biggest challenge for us in today is our center time. Your typical day, that looks like that moving in the classroom, different areas, interacting with each other. So we came up with a way that we could have, they each have their own materials, are still near each other, but maybe not playing directly together so they can keep their distance. We'll put center materials that can be cleaned into individual baskets. Like a typical center time, students will have the choice of which materials they want to engage with and for how long. Many basket-like materials, the students can engage parallel play, conversations with each other. So say, for example, if they're both building blocks, they can be near each other, building, have conversations with what they're doing. And then during this, teachers and assistants will engage with students and play by modeling things, explaining conversations, and incorporating rich skills. And students will have access to baskets of materials from our classroom settings, art, science, blocks, dramatic play, and then books like we mentioned will have to be individual and then set aside for a few days. Those can't be clean. The only set we will probably not be able to use is sensory table, since that's something that cannot be cleaned in between each student. So we also did a model for our Learn Academy students that opt to do home learning. We have it for pre-K Seesaw. It's a platform that allows students to upload videos, photos, respond to activities. It allows for guided interactions and is a little more friendly for our younger students. It will allow them to do things independently. So again, we still follow our place curriculum, even using this online model. So we have decided the team that our morning meeting will be held synchronously 3 times a week. So morning option, afternoon option, and an evening option. And it would also be recorded for families who cannot participate live. This would allow students to still see their teacher, communicate with them, and see each other. We have also added elements for our question of the day, a read aloud we uploaded daily for story time that students can interact with, music and movement activities. We have added Mighty, which are short activities that either students can watch a video of the team implementing, or we have given directions for parents on how to implement them at home. And includes things like rhyming, patterning, different awareness skills that are included in a fun game that families can interact together. We are going to include our social emotional lesson. We are focusing on the feeling buddy and introducing those to students, giving families ways to implement that at home as well. We will study, do at home, and we'll start the year by doing a clothing study because every child, every family, some form of clothing at home, so they have materials they can use, interact with those. In the future, we just send home materials. We're looking at making a list of what we would need to send home to families as well so they can participate. And in the classroom, the big part of our day is our time in our center. So they want to stress families and give them ideas of how they can extend their play at home, different routines, and through different things to do, and really kind of guide parents through that process. They're still getting a similar experience they would in school. I have some examples of what we saw activities look like. So here's an example of the question of the day. Can you find something with a curved line or something with a straight line? As you see, you put instructions using visuals, which is great because I would let students that can have some independence with it, but also verbal instructions and able to allow parents to easily access it. Students who will add a response, take a picture of themselves, and then when shared, everyone in the class can see it. So it allows for some interaction even through the remote model. And then here's just another example. One of those mighty maps, like I said, those are activities you can do anytime in the day, works on different skills. So it has the instruction for parents. It has an option for parents to either do it at home by themselves with some, or if they would like to the school model, and so it gives that flexibility with their young kids. This is Jalak speaking about the kindergarten model that we're working on. In kindergarten, it's similar to preschool in a lot of ways. We're also trying to using a play-based curriculum, creative curriculum at school. And for the Blend Ed Academy, we're going to be able to use floors and kind of the teacher to create a spot for each kid to call their own. And the school and the day, part of our days will include morning meeting, interactive read-alouds, 90-minute questions of the day, movement, and building community and learning procedures together. We will be able to use our centered play-based learning time with manipulatives that can be or set aside for a few days, and each will have their own personal basket with Play-Doh and school supplies to work with that they will have personal for each day. They will be using solo play when they're mentors and project time, so they can interact with each other, talking or just playing next to each other, but not sharing materials. Blended on their home, they will use a combination of Seesaw and Google Classroom to participate in those aspects of creative curriculum, like of the day, minutes, literacy, math games, and we'll be learning and practicing what is also taught in person. For students in Academy, they will still be working creative curriculum projects at home. They will use Seesaw and Google as primary platforms, and they will be, because they're iPad and younger student friendly, they can take pictures, record themselves, they take videos, we can give them instructions, and they can give us feedback through lots of variety of different options. They can interact with the teacher and many different components like read aloud videos and ways to participate in project with projects from home or things that we can be delivered. We'll use video of ourselves, both reading and giving instructions to help students interact and get to know the teacher. This is an example of part of the Google Classroom. When working online, you can easily navigate through each day and work the question of the day, our projects and activities, read aloud, games, video, and virtual meetings. We'll be able to utilize content from curriculum, lessons, and our other online courses. Each slide allows teachers to add links and change their own Bitmoji. So this is Kylie's picture that looks like her that she has made to sort of interact. She even puts pictures of her daughter and husband down there just so students can get to know her better. And links that provide students an opportunity to visit all the different videos and websites that we can use to practice skills and what they need to learn in kindergarten. The last one is a book cover. There's different covers that have been uploaded in there, and then we click on them, they're YouTube read or linked to interactive read by the teacher. The teacher can also assign activities in conjunction with Seesaw that correlate to the books. This is an example of what it might look like in Seesaw for the students. Teachers be allowed to be able to align their Seesaw to follow along with creative instruction
what is going on in person with students. And post daily lessons that focus on questions, readouts, finding minutes, and activities that the students will be able to participate in. They should be able to move back and forth between the platforms and have success doing that. Integrating these platforms will allow students, whether they are completing Blend Ed Academy or the Learn Academy, to all be on the same track and working together.
This is Allison Evans. I am a third teacher. For these two slides, I'm going to be talking on behalf of the first through grade teachers, explaining some of the expectations and some of the platforms we will be using. This is explaining that there have been sites created that would make things easy for teachers to share the expectations of their students. As classroom differs, you can in the information that's in. So, for example, the distancing expectations, those will help us to know what things are the way that they are. We want to know why school is the way that it is, why it's looking that way in kid-friendly language. They've also been, they're also interactive, so the kids can click and drag things. So this would be something that you would be able to share with your students the first day of school. We'll also be sending home Chromebooks with the students for both the students in the Blended Academy as well as the Academy. The same activity will be available to students. The students will be training to have responsibility with them, like how to treat Chromebook, how to make sure it's charged, how to be reasonable with them, and to go over those expectations with our students right up from the get-go. We're also going to be expecting for, if they're in the Blend Academy, for them to be doing their work at home on the off day. So if they're at a school on a Tuesday, on a Wednesday, their work from home, I was give my students two options where they could come through Google Meet and be live in my classroom as teaching. I'm also going to be posting the videos of me live in my classroom after the live, and then students can go back, watch them, and then complete this activities. The schedule will look a little different for us. I guess it will look the same as pre-K and kindergarten, I believe, but things like breakfast, morning, math, and as well as a SEL lesson. The expectation slides of mask expectations, anticipate that it's really struggling with the keep the mask on. It's not for adults, so I'm assuming it's not going to be fun for kids either. We tried to create a kind of adding humor into it almost. So if you look at the mask expectation page, you can see images of my cat at home wearing the mask all the wrong ways, and then you can also see her wearing it the right way one time, and so they would click and drag this or the no on top to determine whether or not the cat was wearing it the appropriate way. The classroom teachers, so for the Blended Academy, students will be sitting in their seats. They will come in, will line up outside, and they will come into all together. They'll have breakfast, staying. We have desks spread out as far as possible, keep distance between the students, and they'll sit in their seat as much as possible. We'll try to get them to a restroom break together, so that way we can move the amount of people that they have had contact with the classroom. Obviously, for Learn Academy, the instruction, everything will be available to the students online, so they won't have to worry about if they use the restroom, they can take a break. We're using the Google Classroom platform. It's really easy to navigate. There has a folder created where teachers can watch tutorial videos about how to utilize Google Classroom. Each of us from our grade level is also creating a Google Classroom platform for students to use. So the teachers would just need to make a copy of that. All the information would be pushed into the students. So each grade level have one done as an example of grade. So they have their own banner. What's also nice about these is there's a Google link right in within the center of the Google Classroom. So it makes it really easy for the students while they're at home learning in the blended academy. They can just click the link and be live, and they don't have to worry about typing in codes or all of that, and it's only available within the Google Classroom. Through Google Classroom, you can also push things like homework, building relation activities, more meetings, and so these are all housed in what we call topics. What you can do is that will help students kind of click through and see what items they need to complete for each week. You can do them by week, you can do them by topic. It is up to the teacher's preference as to how they would like to do that. This is what the Google Classroom tutorials look like. There are 12-minute or less videos that teachers can watch just to go over. They're labeled by topic, so they're needing help with getting their assignment connected up, like the Google Calendar, where you can see what things are due, or if having a hard time figuring out how to import their grades or organizing classwork, there's videos for all that for the teachers. Lisa Heiser. I'm going to show you some of the examples of what that online will look like first and second grade. This is an example of the first slide so that students can see all the things that they're going to be doing each day. As they go through the slides, there'll be links to all of these different things. This slide shows what our benchmark reading would look like. There's an option to click on the book, and it'll take you to benchmark and listen to it, or there's an option for the teacher to actually record and go with the students on their own. This is another example of the benchmark and how the students interact with it. And you see how I've added some emojis there to just make it a little more personal. They can also click through things, look for the main ideas as they go through their PowerPoint. So be a little more interactive. This is a brain break in a safe place. We really won't be able to have a specific place this year. The students can all have access to this slide. As they click around on the different pieces, it'll take them to different links. I've included some calming links, PE active links, some music links, and some art sites, so that anytime they need to take a break or anytime they would have made it onto a safe place at home or at school, they can go to this slide, choose whatever that they like to choose. This is again an example of how wonderful Google Slides is, how you make, just like we had the library, there's a library for their independent reading, whether they're at home or at school. The timer is there so they can work on their stamina, which is very big in first and second grade. We're trying to read longer and longer. There's also a notebook that they can click on the notebook. That's going to take them to a classroom so that they can write their feelings or their responses or keep track of what they're reading each day. This is an example of interactive read aloud. Typically, we would have the students in front of us with their dry erase boards. We would be asking questions as we go through the book. Since I'm going to be at home, there's not going to be that much interaction. So I asked a question at the bottom. This is a book called Fireflies. As they go through the book, they can be reading or drawing. As they're reading or drawing, they can be writing or drawing what they think or see as they listen. It's just asking if they had a memory of fireflies. This is math, and to make math a little different, you can see how they'll go to each session. It says what their goal for the day is, and then we'll link them to the slide that they need to go to. This is an example of a slide. These are just uploaded from math. They already have the slides. I just added the circle and the cloud and the line so they can be a little bit more active for the students. This slide is a math fun room. Typically, we would have manipulatives or we'd be playing math games, watching math videos. So as they click on all of these different things, it'll take to one of those things, like them to a website where they can choose a game. If they're at home and they don't have manipulatives, they can click on like in yellow counter and it'll bring up in yellow counter for them, or they can listen, watch videos about math, or if they click on the book, it'll take them to a library. They can read about math.
This is Allison Owens, and I'm going to be sharing 3rd through 5th grade put together for our reading and math curriculums. We are completing the first 20 days of the reading curriculum we use. We use a curriculum called Mark. What we're doing is we're creating slides and other interactive things, and we will share these with our grade level peers. So, for example, since I teach 3rd grade, I was sharing all of my ideas with all of the 3rd teachers within our district. We'll be showing a lot of different things that we've embedded into these slides. Some look like room, and when you click on the different things in the room, they can take you to the direct link. So, for example, the one with the Rough Face Girl, when you click on the Rough Face Girl book, it will automatically take you to the YouTube links of a read aloud, somebody reading the Rough Face Girl. This is a 5th grade slide, and she put up there the purpose of the goal as well. That way the students know what they're supposed to be focusing on as they listen to the story read aloud. The cover, the one that says reading 3, this is what, just an easy way for them to see. So this is what they would look at when they see their slides, easily organized by day. The check marks are all able to be clicked and dragged after they complete the day of that work. They can check it off, so they can see what items they have finished, what days they have finished, and what days they need to complete. This will also be visible for the teachers to insert their Bitmoji or be able to tweak things to work for their classroom. We also have slides that show modeling and some that are showing independent work. So for the Your Turn Read slide, what we have here is the instructions for the students to read a book for 15 minutes. This is something they could either do at home or in class, depending upon what day it is or which academy they're in. The instructions are on slide. And if you notice down at the bottom, you can see the little star icon. That is where the student can click and their instructions are read aloud to them. The students will be able to type the book title that they said, the author chose that book. Also, when they go on the timer, it will start the timers. You can check and see how long their session was that day, if they were able to read for the whole 15 minutes, or if they need to set a goal for themselves tomorrow and say, you know what, I did for the whole 15 minutes today, I want to read more than I did yesterday. We also have word work embedded into the slides. So work looks a little bit different in the 3rd through 5th grade than it does in the 1st and 2nd and even pre-K and garden. At this point, they've been exposed to different word patterns, things from the previous year by the time they get to 5th grade. So a lot of this is a review and then some sort of way for them to be interactive as well. So the lines are one they would click drag to show the syllable, and then they would be able to note the syllable open or closed and be able to work on phonics patterns. For math, we will be using, again, we'll be creating that first 20 days of the lessons for the math that we're using. We ready math, and so what they have to do is just basically switch out the information for what they would want to make more personalized. The introduction slide is usually a question. The minds thinking. And in my classroom, I set where centers are, and being able to be in person or close to other people, I tried to use emojis to put examples of what things look like with Math Center and kind of get them to thinking about what the behavior would be like if we open up and be able to have those Math Centers. They would already know the expectations for those. Then it's into a warm-up problems. It just gets their brain thinking. There is also a math toolkit that has been embedded in these slides where students can drag, for example, the base blocks to be able to help them solve the problem, or the counters. They would also be able to use the number or the 100 chart. They then have practice slides. You can see the teacher modeling the same exact lesson. So it's the same question that they use for the warm-up. They then go through and they can see how the teacher would have helped it, what the teacher is looking for, and examples, as well as charts can also be in there for them to remember, help them remember of the different skills that we're focusing on. They then have a turn to practice on their own, where they're able to take the same skill that we've just modeled and they've tried first, that and then practice and see which if they can do it themselves. And at the very end, there's an exit step where they click on the picture. It will take them to a Google form where they can check and see if they're correct. The nice thing about Google Forms, when they take the Google form, it will automatically show them their answer. So they say, I got 3 out of 5 right. It's these 2 questions, and then that gives them the opportunity to reach out to the teacher and say, I didn't understand these 2 things. I got these wrong. Help me with this.
Okay, I think we have it. Yeah, I hope it's working. I'd like to thank Allison Owens and Jackie Huntley for being here tonight in person. They were also here, as you saw, as a backup for us for technology, because our beloved Nakia is on a very well-deserved vacation. So thank you very much for being here in person. We also have several teachers who are on Zoom tonight, and I would like to just take an opportunity to thank them. You will never know the hours and hours and hours that this committee has spent putting this together for all of the teachers, and the training that's going to go into that. So thank you again to all the committee members that I listed and to those who put the video together for tonight. As I said, we have several teachers on Zoom, and what we're going to do, I thought maybe this would be a nice kind of little break here for the board members to ask. We're going to have 2 opportunities for the board members to ask questions, but this one in particular to the teachers, because they're on Zoom. We just saw the academic piece, and maybe while that's fresh in your mind, if you have any questions about the academic piece, this is an opportunity for the board to ask those questions. The rest of the presentation will be about procedures and not as related to the academics. So this is the time to ask questions, and you turn your mic on to do that.
So at this time, do any board members have any questions for the instructors for the K through 5 presentation?
My brother, the presentation I saw, I thought was good. I like the different activities that be available for them to interact with the students. But something I didn't see is, how do you identify the students that are behind at the grade level, and what's going to be done to ensure that they're able to keep up with the curriculum?
So the question had to do with what the students who may be behind and how are we going to work with them.
Right.
Anybody want to take on that question? Allie?
This is Allison Owens. We are going to do all our benchmark testing, so we will be able to see where the students are at exactly. And then we're also going to be planning to do some individualized instruction, as well as they'll already be in the classroom in smaller groups anyway. So that will allow for us to spend more time with them. Even the ones over Zoom or Google Meet, when they come in, we'll also be conferring and working with them as well.
Okay, Joe?
A lot of parents have expressed that they're just not ready for the kids to come back to school. What is the plan if you get a large percentage of parents that choose not to bring their students back to school? And how will you initiate, how will you get the learning to those kids that are at home?
So if I can understand your question, you're talking those students who,
Those parents that don't want they're not ready for their kids to come back to school. What's the plan if you have a larger percent of parents that choose not to bring their students back, to bring their kids back to school? How are we going to ensure that they get the learning that they need while they're at home?
so you're talking they're gonna be either at home learning or they're not going to withdraw the kids from school?
They'll still be part of RCS,
Okay,
but they'll be learning at home.
Well, that's part of the presentation that was tonight, was to talk about all the tools that are being used. And that's for students who are at home all the time, or for students who are in the classroom. So those are the tools that are being used for both sets of learning, both avenues, both academies, I guess.
anybody else have any? Sorry.
I mean, I was looking when I was prepping and looking at a lot of this stuff, especially for third grade. They're old enough where you can train them or teach them how to navigate through their Chromebook, so they would be able to log on. And so one of the things that was on one of my slides, so you can go back and rewatch it if that's helpful. But there is a Google Meet option, and it's actually embedded within the Google Classroom. So it's really nice because it's not posted anywhere, so nobody else can hop on. It's really safe for kids to utilize, but they would also be in the classroom receiving that same instruction from me if they were able to hop on live at the same time that school was happening. If they're not, that's okay. But I'm going to be posting like teaching videos of me teaching the same things later, so they would be able to go back and rewatch those types of things. And one-on-one can happen in through that Google Meet. So there's still those options to be working with the kids that are even choosing the Learn Academy from home virtually.
This is Lisa
Does
Heiser,
anyone have any
and
questions?
can you hear me?
Just push button.
Put your microphone on, yeah.
I don't have a question, but I am thoroughly impressed with both academies. It's amazing all you've come up with in a short time. I can see where, there's going to be issues, technology issues, and what have you. But I am thoroughly impressed with what you guys have put together, all the teachers that are on the committee. It is amazing. It is amazing, and thank you so much. I see the kids really enjoying some of these activities. I wanted to go to that one room where you could click on different stuff and it would take you to music or some relaxing yoga thing or whatever. Yeah, I think I think the kids are going to enjoy it. I think they're going to learn, and that's the important thing. Thank you.
Anybody else? If not, then we'll move on to Mr. Woods.
Okay, so next is Dr. Woods. That's J.W. Ader Junior High Principal and our bilingual director, and he's going to talk a little bit about what Ader's day will look like.
Well, I have a 30-minute presentation for you. It's a little simpler actually for us. I don't envy the elementary teachers having to coordinate every subject every day at school and at home. Our teachers, I think that's the easiest way to present it. Our teachers will teach each lesson daily at school. They will have five lessons in a 5-day week that the teacher will present. And each time the teacher presents that lesson, or the teacher will record the lesson. Quite a few of our teachers have said they will pre-record the lessons. What am I doing wrong? Oh, they don't need to see me at home. Hello.
We want to
All right.
see you.
This is my Lego face mask, in case you wonder. So the teachers will record the lesson that they're doing, either pre-record it or present it live. And each of those lessons will be used at school and at home. So for the most part, students will get the same lesson at school or at home. We will be doing math and language arts every day. Social studies or science will be semester-long classes. That seems to be the easiest way for us to organize it. So what's going to be simpler for our students compared to what was happening in the spring is they're only going to be responsible for 3 content areas. There are some kids that will have more, depending on what they're doing, but they'll be enrolled in 3 classes daily. Now they're going to see their specials teachers also. We do have breaks scheduled in for that are going to be hosted by the PE teachers, and those will be daily in person. Each day, our music, STEM, and art teachers are talking, they're planning, it's pretty early for them. That they will have mini lessons that teachers will be able to use in their classrooms that they would do. So it's kind of hard that they'll have to, the art teacher will actually be providing an art lesson for 30 classrooms in the building under this model. So it does look a lot different. I think I'm concerned, like Mr. Robinson had said was in his question, is how do we monitor and keep track on kids? What's different in this term is from what we were doing in the spring is that the work is going to be assessed. Teachers are going to provide feedback. What they're going to be doing in that additional time after the students leave the building is that's when they're supposed to be following up with children who are at home. They can do that over the phone. They can do it, they can video chat, all of those things. It is a challenge to work with a kid who doesn't get it, because when you're in your classroom and you're standing in the room and you're teaching and a student asks you a question, or sometimes you can just see on the student's face that they don't get it, and you know you have to try it another way. But each of our students will be able to have the same lesson, whether they're in school or at home. And I said daily PE, there will be some daily instruction through specials. Some of the difficult decisions we've had to make are chorus and band. They cannot meet in person, which is really difficult to do for a band teacher, to not have a band. So I will say though, Ms. Jordahl is being very creative and is working on things. And she keeps coming at me with new ideas. Okay, you can make it work, let's do it. So I think that's about, we have, I guess I would say is our curriculum, our content, thinking of what the elementary folks presented. All 4 of our core subject areas do have a digital platform in place already. So the textbooks are digital. So for math and science, we have textbooks that are digital and also a consumable edition, and we will have both of those still for students. Social studies is already a digital platform, and science, we purchased for math also a program called iReady Math that will go along with iReady Reading that we're already doing. So that we realized we needed some supplements for the digital components to fill out that whole 5 hours that we're going to have to do every day.
And you have a committee as well that works.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. It's not just coming out of
It's
my
not
head.
just, it's not just Dr.
Wonderful
Woods.
teachers. We're all in it together.
Yes.
We really are.
Yes.
So.
Yeah. Do
They've
you have
been emailing me during this meeting. So what are we going to do? How is the Google Classroom going to work? So a big piece of feedback we heard from parents was, and I think students felt the same way, is the interface that we were experiencing in the spring was very challenging for families at home. And so that's one of our big tasks at the junior high level is we need for a student and a parent to be able to log in and easily know what it is they have to do that day. And when we were in the spring, we had packets. We had some kids were logging into 8 different Google Classrooms every day. And that's hard to manage, especially knowing that a lot of our students don't have a parent at home holding their hand while they do it all day. So we are definitely trying to make that a simpler interface.
Does the board have any questions for Dr. Woods?
I'll wait for him to say whether he was finished.
I can keep going.
He could go all night, so.
I do not have any further things to add unless there are questions.
Any board members have any questions, comments? Mr. Anderson, they would like to address with Dr. Wood.
Hey, guys, can you hear me?
You said that there is digital component.
Microphone.
Microphone.
You said that there's a digital component to be in school and the children that choose to stay home.
Yes. So that's a good clarification. Really, all of the learning is going to be happening, instead of pens and pencils and notebooks, everything is essentially going to be done on that Chromebook now. So it's kind of a big push for us. These are things we've been working on over the years. Like, we need to be digital. Why do we still use so much copy paper? Well, we have now been pushed into it, and it's going to be all digital.
Anybody else have any other questions?
Which platform are you using?
Everything's going to appear to a student and family through Google Classroom.
And Jenny's going to do it. Jenny has something to add. Jenny has something to add.
I just wanted to clarify because we didn't mention, some people might be saying, oh, our elementary only doing reading and math because that was mostly what was highlighted. Our literacy, our benchmark literacy program is already project-based. So every 3 weeks, it's focused on either a social studies or a science topic. So the way it's integrated is all of the literacy goes through whatever topic it is. So how they're going to set it up is there'll be 3 weeks of the science topic that's already embedded that they'll be exploring through books and other activities. And then the 4th week is going to be an actual hands-on project-based activity for students at home and students in the building to kind of show the culmination of their learning from those 3 weeks. We did purchase, we use mystery science as part of our curricular tools, and we did buy individual kits so that students at home and in the building will have an individual kit to be able to do those hands-on projects. So we think that will also add a little fun and engagement away from just doing something on the computer all the time.
I was going to ask you those kids. So when the parents come in to pick up the Chromebooks, everything else, they will be given all the kits and everything at that time? Or?
We actually have some different ideas of how we would be distributing kits throughout the year. It would be an ongoing every 4th week of either social studies or science.
Anybody else have any questions or comments?
Hey, Bill, can you hear me?
If not, thank you all for your presentation. And
So we're going to finish going through the presentation. I have to be very careful with my papers. When I rustle papers, you can hear this very loudly. So the next topic is masks. I'll run through some slides that are going to talk about safety, and masks is top of the list always. So if there are some serious health conditions, those will be considered on a case-by-case basis. So we have some ideas for accommodations, and we will work with each family. If we feel that safety is an issue, it may be that the decision that is made is that the child will have to receive their learning through the Learn Academy at home. Face shields are not an option. That was one of the items that they changed within the first, day or two that the guidance came out. They changed their mind and said face shields are not an option. So next slide, please. Social distancing. This is a very important to understand. So RCS is choosing to abide by the 6-foot social distancing to the best of our ability. In the bus, on the bus, in the classrooms, in the hallways, in the restrooms, to the best of our ability. Why is that? If someone tests positive for COVID, the only persons quarantined are those within 6 feet for longer than 15 minutes with the infected person. All others do not have to quarantine. If we do not follow the 6-foot social distancing and someone tests positive, everyone within 6 feet is quarantined for 14 days with little to no notice. That includes the teacher if she was within 6 feet, or he. We won't have very many subs, if any, outside of we have a few permanent subs. We will have staff who can't work for various allowable reasons. So eventually, when we don't have enough teachers, that class will have to move to remote. If we can't find enough teachers, if we end up having too many teachers getting sick, we can't have classrooms without teachers, and that is a concern of ours. So to make this as safe as we can for the students and the staff, that's why we're doing the 6 feet. Our class sizes, I think I mentioned this before, for elementary are about 11 to 12, and for junior high is 14 to 15. The next topic and the next screen is health screenings. So parents must screen their child for temperatures and symptoms daily. We will provide those details closer to the date of school starting. We are working on a specific detailed procedure for when someone comes in contact with someone else with COVID or has symptoms or tested positive. And those will all be provided to you after they're approved by the Champaign-Urbana Public Health Department. Once at school, we will do our best to also screen students, but parents, you must do this before they leave school. We will do our best to do temperatures for every student when they walk in, but we need parents to do this first. Staff will conduct self-certification daily before they arrive at work. Next, oh, I got turned off. All right, not yet. Okay, we're back on. All right, the next slide is talking just about a few different topics, keeping everybody safe. Students must remain in one room, will remain in one room all morning. This is pre-K through junior high, unless there is some specialized service that requires one-on-one with a small group. Could be speech services as an example. And disinfecting will occur in between those groups. It's not working. Okay, frequent cleaning or frequently used areas will occur every afternoon. All surfaces in the buildings will be sprayed. We have a special sprayer, and it will be used every afternoon. Hand dryers and water fountains are turned off, and each student will have their own labeled water bottle, which is washed each night and refilled each morning. Next slide. Ventilation in the classrooms. Hey, that was pretty cool. Ventilation just turned on in here. We are working still with Johnson Control to set up our system to provide the safest environment possible in our geothermal buildings. Hand sanitizer in each room. I think I mentioned that. Frequent breaks outside, mask breaks, if the weather allows, for students and staff to be more than 6 feet away from each other and take a break from the mask. I think everybody's wanting a break right now from the mask. And we're just sitting here. We're not actively involved in teaching at this moment. So some may even try to hold part of their classroom outside. So we'll see how that goes. No use of the lockers, and all will have hallway protocol. Teachers will talk to students. You heard some of that tonight in the video, how that's part of what they will do is they'll talk to students about all the safety protocols. And then staff will be provided with safety training before students start school. So August 13th and 14th, let me back up a little bit. Teachers' first day is August 11th. They have Teacher Institute, August 11th and 12th. August 13th and 14th, we would like to change. That's the next agenda item after the public comments. We would like to change and have those become parent, teacher, child conferences held by appointment at each school. The purpose of that is to talk so that they can meet the teacher in person. Hopefully it's a nice day and you can do that outside. And they meet the teacher, they go through expectations. The teacher can show them what it is that they'll be doing on the screen. They will talk to them about how they can communicate with each other. So it's a very important meeting. They'll give them the device. My microphone's going in and out. Give them the device and have them sign off on some paperwork. Tuesday, August 14th would be the first day of school for A day students and the 19th first day for B day students. Mondays, remember, is all remote. Everybody's at home. The exact start and end times of school will be determined by bus routes. We have a very preliminary plan. We just talked about it today. I am not announcing the start times. I'm just talking to you about what we talked about today. And it appears that maybe we can start school for elementary the same time that we have, which is 7:40. And right now, or this past year or the past years, there's been a half-hour difference between elementary and junior high. We are really hoping and thinking that we'll be able to maintain that. Remember, we're gonna have 11 students on the bus, 12 students on the bus. So it's a lot of routing that's taking place right now. As soon as we know what those times are, we will communicate that to parents because we know that's very critical for you to be able to make arrangements. The buses will be sanitized nightly by first student. Next slide. They're gonna give me a different microphone. I'll try something. No, thank you. Okay, let's try this. Oh, that's much better. All right, the start of the year. So we will have A and B groups at 8 or how are we going to determine all this? How do we decide who's an A and who's a B? So busing will start that. The busing drives most of this, all the decisions on school, start times and times. So busing will determine A and B groups at Ader and Northview and Broadmeadow. And that's still a work in progress. And then we will default back to alphabetical probably. All parents will be notified of their grouping starting July 21st. It's important that your phone numbers in Skyward are up to date and accurate. And then to the best of our ability, we will be very flexible knowing that your child care needs must be met. So if you're called and we say you are an A day student and you can't, that won't work for childcare, then that's what the discussion is about on the phone, and you move to the B day. We also know that you have to, obviously siblings or same households, we need them all to be on the same day, A day or B day. And then there's the high school as well. So there's a lot of connections. You know, I've talked to the high school again this morning, and that is how we're going to operate. They're going to do the same, but absolutely we will be flexible in trying to help with at least that piece of it. So next slide. In order to do this, we have to have deadlines. We need a deadline regarding the choice that you are going to make for your child for schooling. That deadline is August 1st to choose either the blended or the Learn Academy. By August 1st, we need to know that. If a family chooses Learn Academy, that's the 100% at home. If a child chooses a Learn Academy, they need to remain in that Learn Academy at least until semester. We just can't have an in and out all the time. So if you're going to do at-home learning Learn Academy, you need to stay there. There will be a deadline of December 1st if you want to return your child to school for blended. And that's for second semester, which is in January. The second deadline item for the same date of August 1st is busing. We must know if your child needs busing. That's pretty important when you can only fit 11 to 12 students on a bus. We will be able to have more on a bus if, I think I said this, but if you have siblings or same household living together, they can sit next to each other on the bus. So we would be able to have more students on the bus. But we need to know by August 1st about busing. And all of these are part of that phone call that's going to happen. There's a whole list of questions that we're going to ask. And then you may, when you receive that phone call, you may not know that moment. We understand that. That's why you have till August 1st to give us your answers. Next slide. We're almost done. What are we continuing to work on? We are continuing registration. We still need lots of families to register. We're not holding the all on-site, all-day registration, obviously. So we are needing parents to continue to do registration online. And that is one of the questions that will be asked when we call home to parents and work with them on that during that call. Busing, busing, busing. Food service for all enrolled students. So lunch will be sent home with the student with 1 or 2 days of meals, depending on what day it is. If they ride the bus, they will grab that bag of meals as they exit the bus. Otherwise, we're going to have sandwiches and paper bags all over the bus. For at least the first week or two, the Learn Academy food distribution will have to be daily until we get a better system in place. We just are not ready for that to be less often. Ideally would be once a week. If we could do that for those families who are at home, if they only have to come and pick up the food once a week, that would be ideal. But in the very beginning, there's a lot going on. So we're going to have a daily pickup, and we will share all that information. What else are we doing? We're watching ongoing guidance that's changing all the time, some involving upcoming legal action. And then, of course, I alluded to possible rumors for some announcement tomorrow. It's a Friday afternoon. That tends to be when we get those type of announcements. So if you hear that the governor is going to be on tomorrow afternoon, maybe you should watch. Personnel. So personnel is a big task ahead of us. Teachers will have the choice to work from home. One of the items that we're talking about is we would like the teachers to have the choice to work from home remotely after students have left for the day, as long as there are no in-person meetings. Teachers also can work remotely on Mondays. Much of the work that they do, which is planning and developing lessons and communicating with students, that can be done remotely. Working with staff who are unable to return to work and maybe possibly connecting some of those with those students who are at home for the Learn Academy. We don't know who all those people are yet. That is something that we're working on starting next week. But if we have a large number of staff who are out, maybe they're the ones that can work at home with those doing the all at home learning. And then we're working on assignment of extra duties for staff due to the new way we're doing school, taking temperatures, cleaning water bottles, filling baskets of school supplies. There's a lot of tasks that we have to do. Athletics, there was a meeting yesterday, and they're still waiting for a little bit more information. And lastly, one of the frustrating pieces is that liability prevents us from being able to share with families childcare information. So if a flyer is given to us, we usually have a statement at the bottom, and we'll send out any flyers to anybody. Actually, now it's all done online, but we just cannot. I can't recommend Mrs. Jones next door as a great babysitter. We legally, liability-wise, should not get involved in that. That's frustrating because parents need to know some information, and maybe we have some of that information. We are still working with Boys and Girls Club that covers Pleasant Acres and Northview, but we are looking for them to be off-site. If anybody has a location that you think that they can land, they're having a hard time finding somewhere here that they can be. And we really need to continue to work with Boys and Girls Club. It's too difficult to do cleaning when we have that many students and staff still in the building in the afternoons. We are also currently working with the YMCA. They have just sent us a survey this morning that they would like us to send to staff. So I will send that out to staff. I'm sorry, just to parents. I will send that out to parents. And it would be wonderful if we can have an addition of another organization that can do care for when your children are not in school. So look for that. And I hope that we can form a partnership with them. Last slide. This is a reminder for kindergarten and sixth graders. You would have already received information about a Carl mobile clinic that's coming here to Ader on July 31st from 10 to 4. We will also have a very small scale on-site registration during that time at Ader if the weather is good outside. ISBE, IDPH, and/or the governor could and likely will change guidelines between now and school starting. So we have to respond and react to every one of those. Thank you for your patience. We know we don't have answers to everything that we are doing, but we will. And we have never done school in a pandemic before. Board, what comments and questions do you have before we open to public comments for anybody interested in this topic? Because we would like the public comments to be obviously before the board makes a decision.
I had a
I'm
question.
understanding that there are some board members who are getting remotely. We have some questions, but we're on a time delay.
Mm-hmm.
I have a question.
You have to invite on the computer, Michelle.
I do.
Yeah, because we have control.
Oh, here, like that? Okay.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Shook hands, Sandra.
Okay.
Hold on.
Can you guys hear me now?
So Sandra was first.
Sandra was speaking first.
So I know that for like the junior high, the classes are all going to be online, but for our younger kids who will need some school supplies, they're going to have a set of school supplies for home and a set of school supplies for school, correct?
So we will have school supplies provided for our elementary students and some for our junior high as well, all the way through. So we will be providing school supplies because any school supplies that parents buy, they'll need to keep those at home.
Right. Okay. All right.
Will we have the supplies? Will we be providing enough supplies so they can have them both at school and at home?
Not at this, no, just what they need at school. Yeah.
And then if we send stuff home for a specific project, that will be provided. Because they just want crayons and pencils and stuff at home.
Or Andy, did you have a question?
Yeah, just to make sure nobody else had one before me. I was freezing a little bit, so I might have missed some things, but if somebody asks a similar question, please just stop me and tell me it's already been answered. And I can email you, Michelle, or Scott, or whoever later. My question would be is if, similar to kind of Joe's, if we find a student that's struggling and in that particular classroom, let's say the student's an A-day student and on the B-day, that room is not full or has room to allow that student, will we allow that student to come and participate to get extra help if we find that in-person learning is most beneficial for that student? Would we be allowed to let him or her come and get some extra help if the classroom size was a little smaller?
My concern with that would be that cross-contamination and that contact tracing that has to happen. So every time you introduce somebody new to a group, that creates some real safety issues, health safety issues. So at this time, that is not something that we would consider. Instead, those learning opportunities would happen remotely between the teacher and the student.
Michelle, can I speak or no?
Yes, please.
One thing that was not brought up is we still do have our literacy specialist, our interventionist. And even though they may not be able to do direct instruction, when they are on their A or B day, they would be available to work with those students remotely in either small groups or one-on-one settings based on their caseload once those tests come in. So there are going to be people supporting students in literacy and math, at least I speak for the elementary level, that will still be going on.
Also too, Andy, they did mention that in the elementary grades, if a student's on a B day where they're at home, that there is a link on Google Classroom where they can actually hit that link and they can join the class, the A class lesson if they're struggling.
I'll get one more thing that's got. I'm gonna talk about,
Yeah, I can't, but he has to either come here and ask that or. I can't. Oh,
lift up your computer.
gotta see ya.
I guess there was a question somewhere about our Spanish-speaking students. Those students are still going to continue to get the same supports with Spanish language and English language learning that they would in person. So at an elementary school, the students would be, yeah, I didn't read the whole thing, but those students will have the same teacher on A day and B day because all of our bilingual students are enrolled in classes with Spanish-speaking bilingual teachers. So I don't see much of an issue at the elementary level because they will be with their regular classroom teacher, whether it's an A day or a B day, and that is a bilingual teacher. Secondary level, we have our schedule set up. Actually, our kids will be getting more Spanish language support than they usually would under the model that we have for the junior high because we're going to be able to strategically use our Spanish speaking staff. And some of those aren't bilingual teachers, they just happen to be fluent Spanish speakers, and they'll be grouped with students to provide additional support in Spanish. We are able to, and we haven't finalized any piece on this yet, but we have the ability to bring in the same way that some students with special needs, special education needs can come every day. We do have that option for some of our ESL students or our English language learners. We're probably going to target our newest students to the US and probably after third grade, because kindergarten, first and second grade right now is almost entirely in Spanish. And it's as they transition into the English piece where we would want more intensive supports for those kids.
Do you board member have any questions for Ms. Dr. Woods?
Need extra help.
Did who? Andy? Did who ask? I don't know what you're saying. Did somebody ask that? Is that what you're asking?
Andy did.
Oh,
I
Andy.
thought he
Yeah,
asked about
Andy did.
people that needed extra help.
Yes,
Yes.
yes.
Not necessarily Spanish speaking.
No.
Jenny Davis online answered that
Yeah.
question, and then somebody else came online asked about.
Yeah, just to clarify, the ISB guidelines come right out and say students with IEPs and students who are English language learners should be prioritized. So those are the students that would be prioritized into everyday instruction. And it is not all students who have special education needs or English learner needs.
And then Andy, did you get your question answered? Are you there?
He's there.
Yeah, Bill. Yeah, I'm good. I'm having lots of problems with it freezing, so I'm just trying to catch up with everybody. But I'm good, and like I said, I'll email if I think of anything here off the top of my head. But I'm just trying to follow best I can with my technical issues.
Okay. Is there any other board member who has a question, comment?
Again, thank you and your staff for all your work.
So public.
Okay, then.
Thank you and your staff for all your work.
So now we're going to move to the public forum.
So
You're Ms. Turner, right? You're
Yep.
okay? All right.
So how many
So-
people do we
Hannah's gonna read off, Hannah will read off the name next.
Well,
name.
before
Oh,
you read off the name.
Go ahead.
Just a reminder that for public forum, we do have a 5-minute limit on you're approaching and making your comments. We just ask that you please.
Oh, yes.
Yes, ma'am.
I didn't know that I have to sign.
That's okay. Yep, not a problem. Not a problem. Yep, not a problem.
All
No
right,
problem.
so.
Okay.
Thank you over there, or we have a problem?
Well, she will call you and then you will sit.
I will
right?
call you.
When-
There's
yeah, when you're
somebody
ready.
ahead of you.
Yeah,
Okay, I'm
yeah.
sorry, I'm sorry. Right, so, but it sounds like you may be able to go, because they're both going, yeah. I got all mine. Ms. Turner, and you're okay, right? You don't need to speak, and Mr. Johnson?
So actually, I do have one.
And so, yeah, come on up to the table and
All right.
make sure the microphone is on, and there you go. And I'll
Once
start the
you're ready,
timer.
Just give me the green light and I'll start the timer.
Oh, you got it? Okay. All right.
Okay.
Anyways, good evening. Hopefully everybody's staying safe. And this is just a question that I'm kind of wondering. I mean, you guys probably answered it. I just didn't catch exactly. On some of the kids that are and families that may not have access to, let's say, computers and or any other type of electronics that you guys are saying that we're going to do some of the teaching from. How's that going to work? I think you answered that sort of, but then the comment I have is, and I think Ms. Owens kind of answered it about how third graders can kind of follow her footsteps on and knowing how to actually access or use the computer system and or whatever they may be using. How is that going to work, for example, with parents that will not or cannot be home with some of the children? And are you guys feeling that confident that children are going to be able to use these equipments to communicate back with the schools? I mean, I'm just asking because, I have 3 children and I'm not saying they can't, because I know that they probably could, but I'm talking about some of the other families that might not have a parent, guardian, or a daycare provider that can help them with that situation.
I don't have a microphone, but I can.
Well, I don't know. I don't know if we're, the president needs to decide if it's gonna, if there's a response or, I just don't wanna, this is public comments, so,
Well, I understand that, but
yeah, so whatever you decide.
but if you would like to respond to that answer, the question.
I need a microphone.
So, yeah, so every child will get a device, and if the family needs internet, we have a hotspot, so that we'll get them device. We've been a one-to-one district for a while, so most of the kids already use devices in school on a regular basis.
Okay.
So that part helps. We're honestly hoping that we can have the kids for at least a couple weeks before we get shut down, so that we can help train them on routines. That would be the most ideal. However, the other option, if there's any questions when we do our 2 days of parent, teacher, child conferences at the beginning of the year, we can do mini trainings with the teacher, walking the family through how to get on the device. We also have tech support. So we have this great teacher team that is supporting teachers and families for the whole school year on the platforms. And then we also have our tech director, a new instructional tech person that'll be in the buildings, and their whole role is going to be supporting teachers and families and devices.
Okay, that's also for the Spanish speaking children as well. Okay.
Absolutely. And one of the things that we're putting on the devices is the ability, our Mikia, amazing Mikia, is putting on software so that he can go in remotely. So if a family calls and they're having trouble, he can go in, troubleshoot, and help fix it without them having to come in as well, both for teachers and students.
All right, I understand. Thank you very much.
Also too, when they did the K through 5 presentation, teacher did mention that when they start doing their instructional learning, that they're first going to go over a tutorial on how to use your computer, how to take care of your computer, and everything else too. So hopefully everything will work out.
Okay, that's great. Thank you very much.
We also have tutorials on our website for all the different systems, so parents and teachers can follow that as well.
Thank you for the question.
Ms. Gonzalez.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening.
Thank you.
My name is, okay.
You gotta be really close to the microphone.
Very close.
Yes.
Good evening. My name is Marta Gonzalez. I'm the Executive Director of the Multicultural Community Center. I came here today with a letter, pre-written letter. Each one of you is gonna get a copy. I wish I had the email before I would have sent it by email. Sorry. But because I want to send this message very clear to everybody who is watching this presentation. So Mr. Krieger is gonna read the letter for me. My English is not my first language, so I want everybody to understand the letter. So thank you very much. I hope I get an answer for the letter soon. That's all I ask. Thank you.
I'm just gonna keep it a little short for them, just because it is so long. I know you guys are on a time crunch. Multicultural Center, if you guys are not aware, facility here in Rantoul, childcare, educational. My boys have been going there for 2 years, absolutely love it. They've learned Spanish. So I think that's where Martha's going with this, is to make everyone aware that they're here to help the community with the pandemic going on and just try to figure all that out. I think the biggest thing for them is the transportation to the center. Is Rantoul going to be willing to do that with the school buses? That is the first thing that she does touch on in number one. The other one was the lunches, which you guys touched on, where they would get it when they go to exit the bus. Multicultural Center is a little bit different, where they want to cook the meals. They don't want anything bagged or pre-prepped. I get okay. I think that was kind of the basis of what they were trying to go with. Also to throw it out there, what they had to offer. We know other facilities here in town have recently shut down due to the pandemic. They're open, their doors are open. They're gonna have to staff up in order to accommodate the growth that they're gonna probably see with working parents, them helping take over the education part. So I think that's kind of what they're looking for, is as far as get those answers. Whereas Rantoul going to come in, help them out as well, but also the students get their education throughout the day. And that's on another side note for me, that's where I come into this too, is my wife's working from home. I got 2 boys that go to East Lawn. How are they going to be able to stay on track all day long when my wife's still working? I guess that's where, have we played with the option of going 5 days a week, maybe half days, or even split it up? Some students go in the morning, some students go in the afternoon. I know St. Joe's doing something similar to that. Have we looked into that or anything as far as an option?
I don't know if you want me to engage or.
Would you like to
I mean,
answer the question?
that's up to, okay. We looked at many options. If we do every day for half a day with all of our students, we're not going to have the 6 feet social distancing. So that's the reason why.
Even if we didn't break it up, say half students go in the morning, half in the afternoon.
So the problem with that is the time it takes to do busing, and it's too much, becomes too long of a day for teachers. So I don't know how they're accomplishing that in other districts. Each district is unique, but absolutely, we've looked at every single type of plan that we could.
Okay, and that is a smaller district too,
Yeah,
so
yeah.
I'm just throwing that option out there is, have we looked at other options?
Absolutely.
I understand the card we were dealt, it is a struggle for working
I
parents
know.
to try to help the kids. And if we didn't have facilities like Multicultural Center here in town, or at the time Annabelle was here.
Right.
That becomes a big problem, and it's tough. Can you guys
Turn it back.
Sorry. It's right behind you. All the traffic between the morning, you didn't have time to clean,
Yeah.
Oh, I forgot that part. Thank you. I forgot about the cleaning part. The cleaning part is an issue too,
Okay.
to be able to effectively clean.
And I guess my other thing, looking at the first through third, and I think you guys already touched on this, that's probably gonna be the group that has probably the toughest time with the Chromebook. And that's kind of what I look at. I got a 6-year-old at home and he's easily distracted. And I guess that's my only thing is I want to make sure that if we notice he's tracking behind, and I don't see it, maybe as a parent, you guys catch it. I kind of want that brought up almost immediately and say, hey, he's tracking behind, there's an issue. Now, I guess that's where I want to make sure the communication is 100% constant. At that point, you could email me 15 times a day, as long as I have that information that my kid's doing.
Absolutely. That communication will be ongoing. It'll be, because it'll be regular communication too, because it's a different way to communicate. The teachers will know the progress and they'll be able to teach you how to see that progress. Not that you have to sit next to them, but you'll be able to see and monitor that progress easily. The teachers can show you how to do that, but they're gonna know. They're gonna know right away if they're falling behind and they're not doing what they need to do and contact you. And that is a teacher's job, is to communicate with you and keep you informed as to what is happening, definitely.
And I guess my one last question is, I guess if we have something open up and they say, okay, now we're a little bit more open with everything going on, is the school schedule going to change? Could we see it get better as far as we wouldn't have to worry as much as learning from home?
Yeah, so the next thing, there's only one more phase. So when phase 5 opens and everything opens up back up, we will be dancing in the hallways because it's a whole lot easier to do school the normal way than this way. This is a lot of work on the families, on students, on staff. Absolutely. We will, as quickly as we can.
Yeah, and we got to give it to the teachers. I mean, that's tough for them. They got kids at home and they're still trying to figure this all out too. So we appreciate everything they've done for us and the school district. So definitely want to put that out there. It's tough on them too, so we understand that.
I agree.
And that's everything I have. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Anyone else next?
Who's next?
That's all I have on that specific.
Just for that topic?
Right.
Okay.
So I think we're ready to.
This was just a public forum for
Just for this.
the presentation for the back to school.
And then so this one's back to school, and then we'll do a regular public forum for any other topic not related to coming back to school. So which one do you have both or one? Okay, go for it. No, we'll let Wendell speak.
We got a lot of questions. Wendell Golston, citizen. I think you answered it about who decides on the A and B, and I'm very concerned about RTHS 193 and 137, where there are children in both. That can be kind of challenging for us. I mean, well, let me just put it this way. That's going to be very challenging to get that to match out. It's going to be challenging. I'm also concerned about the learning at home, with there being no exceptions to come back into the building until December 1 or after. You're saying no exceptions. Some circumstances probably going to demand that that happen. And I'm not saying we should be so flexible that everybody is trying to come back into the school, but there's going to be some circumstances, and we're going to have to look at those. We're going to have to look at those very hard. Otherwise, we just have a child and a parent that's out there that's struggling, trying to make sure that that child is educated for whatever reason. If it's beyond their control, then we have to do something, because we just can't leave them out there like that. Also want to know, question, how many Chromebooks do we have? Have we ordered? Will we be sending home if it's for everyone? How many do we have on hand now? I'll wait, go ahead.
We have enough on hand for every child to have a device. I don't know the exact number. I don't know that you know a number, because we always have backups. We have some that are being repaired. So we have enough for every child in our district to have one who's enrolled.
Who's enrolled?
We ordered more in addition.
You have ordered more?
Lots more.
Okay,
Just have backup.
10, 15, 20% more?
What that number is.
I'm asking.
We just keep ordering and.
Just in case those people streaming online did not hear that, just mention that more Chromebooks were ordered, but we do have a Chromebook for every student who is registered in our school district.
Okay.
Am I understanding though that you would like the number?
Yes,
Thank you.
thank you. Also, we talked about the student leaving home, if they're riding the bus, going to the bus stop, and then from the bus stop, entering into the building. If their temperature is checked before they leave home, is checked at the bus stop as well? No.
No.
It's checked when they get to the building?
If the temperature is checked at the bus stop, then what do we do with the child who has a fever?
That's my next question.
Yeah, that's why parents have to check their temperatures and the symptoms at home. We will also do that when they enter the building, but we can't leave a child at the bus stop. So it doesn't do any good to check their temperature at the bus stop, because then we have to put them on the bus anyway. But they will be 6 feet apart on the bus. And we figure that's another added layer of safety. At least they're going to be 6 feet apart on the bus for the most part. I guess they have to walk past each other, but not for 15 minutes or longer.
So the child gets on the bus, they are checked. I thought I heard you say that each parent should make sure that they are safe to leave home as well. So they should be checked at home, be checked again at the school.
So a double layer.
A double layer.
Mhm.
Correct. Okay. Suppose that layer is a layer and a half, where that child is actually, this parent has to go to work, the child has the temperature, and the child gets to the school. That child is checked now. Where are we with getting that child back to the environment?
Yeah, so
That origin.
you are correct. I did not cover that, I don't think, in the presentation. So that we will have every school, and this is ISBE guidance, every school must have, they call it an isolation room. We're going to come up with a different name where that child will go. And whoever is supervising that room will have extra PPE on and extra protection, but the child will have to remain in a safe environment until the parent can come get the child.
Board and superintendent, suppose the parent cannot. We're in a situation here. We're in a situation. I have employees. Every time a parent leaves, there's less productivity. And we don't want the child here infecting other children.
Mhm.
And the parent still has to work. So what if the parent absolutely cannot come and get this child? How do we handle that?
The same way we've handled it all these years. The child is safe, they will be safe at school. We really need them to come get them as soon as possible. But we've been through this for other illnesses before. So, yes.
And then the meal distribution, the gentleman discussed about the meal distribution, saying that that particular environment did not want anything brought in. So each child will get a meal, with Monday being a no attendance day, and then we have the Tuesday, Thursday, Wednesday, Friday. So they would get double meals for that day. Friday, what happens for Monday?
So when the student leaves, depends on which day they're leaving us. If they're leaving and they won't be back for 2 days, they get 2 days of meals. So if they leave on Friday, so it just depends on what day they're attending, they're gonna get the 1 to 2 days worth of meals plus the lunch for that day. So really it's 1.5 days of meals or 2.5. Yeah.
And the temperature thermometers, excuse me. Suppose parents don't have thermometers, they're hard to get. And the child comes out. They're hard to get. Right now, there's a run on thermometers as well, because school is about to start. And what's in place now with IDPH?
You're saying for the families?
For the family, suppose they don't have a thermometer. So if we're looking at providing the school supplies, you know, suppose the family just does not have a thermometer and that child leaves. You know, can we at least look at something? Because our ultimate goal is to be as safe as possible with everybody. Because if the child comes in, the child is sick, then we have staff that's sick. I don't have staff that's sick. We have our essential workers, and we have our support staff that's sick. So can we look at something for that? You know, we're sending Chromebooks home. I mean, let's look at something for that.
We can consider that.
Okay, all right. And back to the question that Mr. Robinson asked. What if the majority of parents opt out of returning or enrolling their children in RCS because of the virus? What do we do if we don't have enough students to be in the building or to participate in the learning?
I don't think I understand the question. To somebody, I don't understand the question.
I think he's saying if too many children say, we're not going to school at all.
So you're trying to say that the parents are going to withdraw them from our school district, or a large majority of the parents are electing to have the kids learn at home?
Opt out of the district. Oh, the three, she gave 3: blended, learned, and opt out total. Is that right, Mrs. Zerman?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
No, okay.
Three options.
Three
Yes.
options.
Yeah.
And the third one was opt out.
Yeah.
Which
we
stated
don't want.
They would have no connection with the district whatsoever.
Yeah, they would be withdrawing. That's a withdrawal.
Right, total withdrawal.
Right.
Suppose we have a vast majority because of the virus just withdrawal, then what do we?
That would obviously affect our funding for the next school year. And the biggest issue is it affects our students' learning. That would be the biggest concern that I have. Some parents will be able to provide the education, but you've also mentioned Some parents are busy working, and those are the families that we would be concerned about not receiving the education that they need. I think that is the biggest, I have the same concern. I know that we all probably have that same concern if they're not enrolled in school in either of those two options, that we're concerned about their education.
Okay.
Definitely.
Okay. Nelson Cuevas and Nicole Thibodeau did a survey of 104 families. And of the 104 families, 93.6 of them stated that they would like for their children to be in school because of their employment. And they have challenges themselves of being able to navigate a Chromebook. And he wanted that to be known, that they are looking to have an open school year if things go according to the health plan. Okay. All right. As far as the transportation, there's additional transportation. Is there going to be additional transportation costs, or they're still trying to work through that?
We're still working on exactly what that looks like to know. We will not be busing on Mondays, so some of that cost will shift to some additional runs during the week. But we do not know, we have not made a decision on any of that yet. We're still working on that as we speak, and then we'll know if there's any additional cost.
So Mondays is no learning at all.
No busing, because no children are in school.
No children, but there's still academics going on Monday.
Absolutely.
Okay, that's what I need.
Yes.
I'll be back.
Also, too, Mr. Gold, and just so that you know, the reason why we don't really have the school on Monday is because our district has been working in conjunction with the high school district, and the high school is not having school on Monday. So we're trying to get everything together so that there won't be such a burden on parents who have kids in high school as well as elementary schools.
Right, 137 has the A and B, and 193 has the purple and gold. Thanks.
Is there anybody else for public comments?
For school. No.
For school reopening? If not, then we can move on to, if any board member doesn't have, if the board member doesn't have any other questions, comments, or concerns regarding the return to school plan that was just presented to us, then would someone care to make a motion to approve the 2020 to 2021 school plan as presented?
I would like to just make a statement before I make the motion, is that
Sure.
this is the plan the teachers have worked so hard on and gotten together, and I'm so impressed with. But I think we all have to realize this could change many times before the end of the school year.
Exactly.
We're voting on this plan to start the year. But we may see something new come along the road in a month, 2 months, 6 months. I would hope would be
Tomorrow.
Tomorrow.
Technically speaking, what we're doing is we're having a plan of attack should we allow them to go to school.
Yeah.
There's a very good possibility the governor says, guess what? No school.
So we would like to say that. I would like to make a motion.
Hold on.
I would like, am I?
Oh.
It's hard to tell if you can hear. No, I'll wait.
Jones too.
Hello? Oh, here I am. I would like to make a motion to approve the 2021 return to school learning plan as presented.
Okay, we have a motion by Mr. Gerald. Anyone care to make a second?
I'll second.
Seconded by Mark Keys. And then we will need a roll call vote, please.
Ulot,
Aye.
Keys,
Aye.
Fitzgerald,
Aye.
Robinson, Graham,
I'm gonna abstain. I've had so much problem keeping up and freezing, and I'm not there. We have a quorum there. I'm abstaining from the vote.
Brotherton,
Aye.
Sweat.
Aye. Okay, it looks like we have 6 in favor and 1 abstention. Therefore, the motion carries and the return to school plan as presented is approved. This moves us on to item number 4, which is public forum. So do we have anyone signed up for the other public forum? Okay.
We have Mr. Ammons first.
Okay.
Good evening. My name is Aaron Ammons. I'm the Champaign County Clerk. And it's unfortunate that I even have to come here tonight to address you, but I have asked for a public apology from Superintendent Ramage or from the school board. I asked for that apology over 2 months ago, and I have not even heard a response from this board or from Ms. Ramage. And this is in relationship to grossly false comments that Ms. Ramage made at your May 21st, 2020 meeting. So good evening, board members. I'm reaching out to you this evening to share with you the facts associated with the false claim made by Superintendent Ramage at your board meeting on May 21st of 2020, as it relates to the TIF districts in Rantoul. Just to establish a legal framework, I was advised by the Champaign County State's Attorney's Office that I should in no way advise, guide, or track TIFs for any levying body, nor their financial officers. So I just want to establish that this is not my responsibility to provide for you when levies are put on or come off the books. So my office is being blamed or was being blamed for not doing a task that we're not even responsible for doing. And so this accusation that was levied against me by Ms. Ramage is similar to the historical accusations that we see, that we saw over the years and that we see in modern times, where a white female is now accusing a black male of some particular action, and there's no need for there to be any truth or evidence to sustain the accusation. Just the accusation alone makes the black man guilty in our society. So I would also like to add that there's a joint review board meeting, an annual joint review board meeting that you all, RCS and RTHS, is supposed to attend. During that annual meeting, required by law, is where redevelopment and TIFs are discussed. So as I address this misinformation, Ms. Ramage opened her comments at the May board meeting by saying, quote, "We, RCS and RTHS, were absolutely shocked to see that the county clerk's office removed the TIF 1. It's important to note here that the county clerk's office does not put TIFs on the tax rolls, nor does the county clerk's office remove TIFs from the tax rolls. And I sent an email to RCS. I don't know if all of the board members got that email or not, but in that email, I sent you an article in the Rantoul Press from May of 2019. In that article, the Mayor Smith said, and I quote, "After careful evaluation of what steps the village should take to best position itself for investment in our community, we feel it is best to allow the TIF to expire, allowing those dollars to flow through the respective taxing bodies and continue to work together toward a lower overall property tax rate." I share that with you because those of you who are watching, maybe listening, and don't know how a TIF works. A tax increment finance district is put on typically by a city council or a village board, and it keeps the school boards or the park districts from being able to increase their tax rates. So that can happen for X amount of years. Sometimes it's 20 years, 23 years, 30 years. I've seen several of them over my years when I served on the Urbana City Council. So it is incumbent upon the school board financial officer or the park district's financial officer to watch very closely those TIFs. And the mayor in 2019 told all the levying bodies who were affected by that TIF when it would be coming off, because they would no longer be looking to extend it. Furthermore, Ms. Ramage reported to you all that Kendra Good spoke to Sasha Green, Ms. Green was the former lead tax extension specialist who had been with the office for over 17 years. And Ms. Green told Kendra at that time that the tip would come off in 2020. Ms. Ramage reported to you that Kendra had planned to levy for that EAV in 2020. So Ms. Ramage and Ms. Good had plenty of legitimate sources of information about the tip. The mayor and the woman who had been working in the clerk's office for 17 years in the tax extension process. However, according to Ms. Ramage, and I quote, but since the leadership did change in the clerk's office, RCS called the clerk's office and asked when the tip would come off and was told it would come off next year. Again, not only is that not true, but it's not our job to provide that information to any taxing body. What's also important to note here is the law and how it works. TIPs are typically controlled by either city councils or village boards, thus the above article that I just shared with you. And the law did not change when the Black man became clerk. Ms. Ramage's statement about leadership changing signals to me that Ms. Ramage and Ms. Good are not exactly aware of how the tax cycle works, which may also explain why Ms. Good, as recently as Friday, June 12th of 2020, emailed my staff and asked when the next disbursement of tax revenue would be sent to RCS. I informed Ms. Good via email that all collection and disbursement questions need to be directed to the county treasurer, as my office has nothing to do with distributions of tax payments. Ms. Ramage went on to speak about an October 2019 meeting that was designed to talk about late tax payments and its profound effects on the districts. This is where Ms. Ramage, who was not at the October 2019 meeting, relays a message to you all that she apparently received from RTHS Superintendent Scott Mario. She reported to you all that I told Mr. Mario at the October 2019 meeting that the tip was on my list to come off this year. And this is just plain false. Superintendent Ramage felt comfortable blaming me for a $700,000 error without any legal responsibility of my office, without any evidence that any false information was shared with you all, and without offering me the courtesy of a phone call. Is that the type of behavior we will model for staff and students at RCS? The people present at the meeting in October 2019 was myself, a former lead tax extension specialist, Andy Rhodes, the current county assessor, Paula Bates, my chief of staff, and both our tax extension specialists. None of us remember any questions about TIF. Apparently, only Mr. Mario remembers this conversation. Although the facts are clear and everyone is ready to just move on, there's more you should know. There's an email exchange between Scott Mario and Michelle Ramage on which I was carbon copied. Now, I sent Ms. Ramage 2 emails prior to this one, and she refused to respond to my emails. This email was an attempt to get me to go along with their scheme to hide from the press and the taxpayers after they accused me of the mistake. In the email, Ms. Ramage says to Mr. Mario, "Thank you for the email. I will not talk to WCIA or Fox. I did not call Rantoul Press or any media. This was a report to my board. That was the only intent, board communication." Mr. Mario responds and says, "I included both of you," meaning Ms. Ramage and myself, in this email so that we're all on the same page. We know Dave Hinton is going to do his story, which will most likely end up in the News Gazette. Many times when that happens, we get a call from Channel 3 or Fox to cover the story also. I have no desire to talk to either one of them, but that only works if we all agree that that is the best course of action. So the two people at the highest level of the public schools in Rantoul are conspiring to keep information from the press about their mishandling of $700,000 of taxpayers' money. Now, why is that? Alone to blame me. In his initial email to my chief of staff, I won't read the whole thing, I'll just give you the crux of it. He says, "Well, I guess what we will have to do from now on is greatly overinflate our letter which I am sure will create a lot of misunderstanding and consternation with our taxpayers. And here's the key point. Of course, our only option will be to explain to them that the county clerk's office has a history of not providing all of the information that we need to make an accurate levy, so we have to do it this way. So now, given all the facts that have been supplied to you, it is my hope that there will be a public apology issued to me and my office by Ms. Ramage, and an immediate correction of the public record pertaining to Michelle Ramage's statements about me personally and the Champaign County Clerk's Office in connection to Rantoul Tip 1. Furthermore, I believe Board Member Fitzgerald, probably a victim of misinformation, also owes us an apology for irresponsibly telling taxpayers that they could not trust the information coming from the clerk's office. I don't know of any information that Board Member Fitzgerald has tried to obtain from my office to make such a statement. Thank you for your time and consideration in this matter.
Thank you for your comments, sir. And just one thing I'd like to add is that, or say is that I assure you that nothing was racially motivated. Okay, so
Although, President Sweat, I don't know how you could make that assertion and come to that conclusion when you had nothing to do with this. You don't know what Ms. Ramage's motivations are, but I am telling you that as the first African-American county clerk ever in the history of Champaign County, I cannot for the life of me imagine how being accused of a $700,000 error doesn't even warrant a phone call. There's no evidence. There's no law saying that it's my responsibility. She simply took the word of two employees who are under fire and did not even give me the courtesy of a phone call or to respond back to my questions that I sent to her.
Be that as it may, her actions were not racially motivated.
And President Sweat, I don't know how in the world you could make such a conclusion. Are you Ms. Ramage? How do you know what her motivations were?
Because she's in charge of our school district and she ensures on a day-to-day basis that her decisions here are racially motivated.
And so you know each and every one of them are not racially motivated.
Yes.
So how would you explain her lack of professionalism? Why didn't she call me and give me the courtesy of a phone call to find out the facts about such an egregious error?
Well, sir, we thank you for your comments and your time is over with. So.
Oh, okay. So you want to protect her, but you don't want to answer my questions. But that's consistent with you not responding to me when I
Bill, do not engage him.
And if you all think that I'm going to go away, you're sadly mistaken. I will be here at every board meeting until I get the public apology that I deserve personally, and that my office deserves. You all have a good evening.
Thank you. Is there any other public comments?
Moto? Sorry, Mr. Johnson. I'm sorry, that was rude.
The whole board is nobody said all of it.
Again, good evening. It'll be kind of hard to come up here and explain, or basically all I'm up here for now is general information and food for thought. It's not exactly in line with what Mr. Hinton had just said, but I agree with him in a lot of ways, and I'm not saying that this is in this room, but as well as all of you know, racism is a huge thing all over, not just in Rantoul, and it's not just at the school system, and it's not only in Rantoul upper management, but it's all over, and it's a shame that this is a type of situation we all have to live with and put up with, but each one of us in our hearts know if we're racist or not racist, if we're actually doing what we really need to do as people to better this community. So I would like to read this letter you know, so we give, like I said, just more information on the way some of the people in Rantoul feels and give you a little bit more information. Again, to whom this may concern, we are undersigned and concerned and dissatisfied with the racial disparities evident in our town. We are part of a group called Rantoul Reform that has come together to push forward with action in order to see positive change for the people in our community. And this does not only mean Black, this means everybody in our community. With this, we request a resolution and commitment of achieving racial equity in our schools. And that's the reason I'm bringing it to the school board, is because we're not only talking about outside of the schools, we're also talking about here. We will attend board meetings and educate ourselves on processes and procedures. We will gather information and demand change. We will support and push recommendations that support racial equity for Black people. We will support and endorse candidates and candidates of color who support Black and brown lives that may present themselves for seats and positions of power in this town. We will collaborate and work with other communities, groups that are pushing for positive change as well. People of color may make up a large part of Rantoul and contribute positively to it, yet are incredibility underrepresented on local boards and a leadership position. RCS 137 has very few Black teachers. However, almost 40% of the students are Black or biracial. There are less people of color working in positions in the administration level in our school. Ultimately,
Hold on.
Hold on a second, sorry. There you go, sorry.
Ultimately, we would like to work together with our town's leadership to make positive changes happen for all people of color and for all of Rantoul. We have ideas and request a committee be formed at RCS 137 to work on developing more ideas and putting them in effect. Our community needs more people of color to hold positions of influence and power. With this letter, we are asking for your support and achieve this goal. Like I said, you know, I think communities as well as people put themselves in a position to where they make themselves look bad. Not saying in this case, but what this committee here, I'm not real familiar with it because I'm not actually involved in it at this point. But I did get the pleasure of reading this letter. I agree with a lot of it, but I do know one thing, and I hope it starts here with this school board, that equality needs to be with everybody, and it needs to start here. You know, of course, it needs to start at home, but there's too many people, too many kids learning the wrong things, and when they're being taught that this is the way it works, this is what happens. You get parents, you get people of power, you get people in different situations arguing or disagreeing with each other. You're supposed to be working together. And that not only includes Black and white, that includes all of you as board members, all of us as members of the community. And that's what I'm talking about. This has nothing to do with color. This has something to do with respect and understanding that having both Black and white and having equal opportunity to get somewhere in life is what the right thing to do. That's just my opinion. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Anybody else?
Can I say something about that? Is it okay if I say something?
Sure.
I certainly understand
Second over.
your frustration.
Try again. Okay, start again, because I forgot to put my microphone on. Sorry.
Okay, I certainly understand his frustration, and I've often wished that we had more people of color run for the boards. Anyone in the past has been able to, and they haven't. And I'm one of 21 school board members in the state on what's called a resolutions committee. And we have not addressed this as a resolution, as we have met, and we meet several times a year, we have often discussed how frustrating it is, not just here, but throughout our state. And I guess it's nationwide, that we can't find, there just don't seem to be enough people of color, no matter, what nationality, going into education. We have tried to come up with ways to recruit, to get more people to go into education, so we have more to pull from. So it's a very hard thing. And unfortunately, there aren't as many people going into education, and there really don't seem to be as many people of color going into education, because frankly, if they're going to college, there's more money to be made in technology. I mean, and fields like that. So I will beg and plead with all of you to value our teachers and encourage your children to embrace learning and to consider going into teaching, because we're having a hard time getting teachers. We're really having a hard time getting teachers of color. So I understand your frustration, and I hope that we get some wonderful candidates to run. Thank you.
Well, thank you for your comment on that. First of all, again, let me explain that I read the letter. I did not write the letter. And for you to say, and I'm sure there's probably a number of people that's probably listening to this, and they might not agree with exactly what you said, but what I'm trying to say, just from my viewpoint, nothing to do with this letter, nothing to do with knowing the facts of how many people of color have applied for any position in the city of Rantoul, not only the school, but also the upper management, the upper board members. But when you're put in a position, and you're right, you will never understand my frustration. And actually, I'm not even frustrated at this point. But when you come to a community and you already know who's going to be put on the board or placed in a position because of who you are, and it might not even be because of color. It could be because of a name. And this happens. You can believe that or not. So it's not only should I be frustrated, or Black people should be frustrated, it should be anybody in the village of Rantoul that might have the education or some type of knowledge to become a great board member, and or a person that may work for Rantoul, or a great person that might teach at Rantoul that never got the opportunity just because who they are. So this just isn't about color. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else?
Nope. Turn it. Push the button.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
So just to direct to what he said, I do have some ideas. I talked to some HR people that actually hired for Vienna, hired U of I. And I have some really great ideas as to how you could reach out to people of color. So I will share them with you, but I really think that committee is a great idea to maybe have people come together and think outside the box. Because I do think, as they said over at RTHS the other day, Mario said, what we're doing, we've done in the past, it's not working. And we can do something else. I mean, we're educators. We can think outside the box. Thank you. Thank you. So as I said, my name is Tracy Williams. Today, as we gather for this meeting, the big topic is COVID-19. Well, I may say, as Deborah Rawling pointed out in her op-ed piece in the News Gazette, racism is like a virus. And that virus, along with COVID, is taking the lives of people in the Black community at a disproportionate rate. And with this statement, I support the statement read by Mr. Johnson. I add to that statement by saying that someone in the district needs to make the statement that Black lives matter. The precedents have been set by other school districts and businesses such as Walmart, NASCAR, Ellerton Park, affiliated with U of I, Champaign Unit 4, Monticello School District, Rantoul Township District, and the list goes on. As Ellerton Park so eloquently stated, it is not enough to just assume people know that you think Black lives matter. It must be unequivocally stated. There should be no room for doubt in this. Silence equals violence. Silence equals affirmation for doubt and for systemic racism to continue. It is a pivotal time given in our shameful, shameful history on this matter. And it's important that we be on the right side of history this time. As the author and visionary for racial justice, Ibram Kendi states, there is not a middle ground. You are either racist or you're anti-racist. He goes on further to define what these two words mean. Racist, one who is supporting a racist policy through their actions or inactions or expressing a racist ideal. Anti-racist, one who is supporting an anti-racist policy through their actions or expressing anti-racist ideals. So I'm asking tonight that you proudly declare where Rantoul City School stands on this issue, because it is too important to stay silent. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Is there anyone else?
Wendell,
Mr. Goldston.
Mr. Goldston, I'm sorry.
I need to go back to one thing that I forgot to ask. I'll make a comment. Regarding the remote hotspots. I know you said each person who goes home that don't have access to the internet, you'll be sending a device home that would serve as the hotspot for them,
For those families that need it.
for those families that need it.
Yes.
Thank you, bye.
And we had, we gathered information in the spring to get an idea of how many families those would be. Obviously, we will do that again this fall.
Okay.
But that's where we got that number from, of how many to buy to start with and how many families we think will need those hotspots.
So the district has purchased individual hotspots.
Correct.
Okay.
For the families that do not have internet at home that need those. Yes.
And what would have been the variance of placing one strategically in an area rather than having?
So that's a very good question. Like a bus, like putting one on a bus and then having.
Bus or bicycle or anything?
Yeah, yeah. The issue is that it does not go very far. You would have to be pretty close to that device to do that. And that the concern is the gathering of people when we shouldn't be gathering to do that. So that's why we chose the individual, they're called Khajiits, individual hotspots.
Okay.
For students to have in their families.
Very cost
Individuals.
No, they're mounted somewhere, like on a bus. It's very expensive.
Okay.
Plus, with the way this town is laid out, we would need to have multiple in order for all the students who attend our, in order for us to do that, we would have to have multiple settings throughout this community. So all of our kids will have access to it because of the way this town is laid out.
Okay. All right. Thank you for that explanation. I just want to say something. You all are elected officials. Mrs. Ramage is hired here. I want to say this. Sometimes silence is not only golden, it's platinum. It really is. And to give the opportunity for a person to or not to is the best thing in a lot of instances. If the person who's being addressed is the person who should be speaking, please let that person speak. Because it tends to, when another involves themselves, it tends to push it a little bit further over because the conversation never went to the point of where it addressed an individual in the presidential seat. It addressed the board and Mrs. Ramage. And President Sweat, I would have rather you had given Mrs. Ramage the opportunity to or not to than you stepping in like you did. I don't think it added anything to the situation that was going to solve and resolve anything with what he was asking. My opinion. I live here. I'm going to be here. I'm not going anywhere. But sometimes we just need to step back and let it be that instead of that. Because what you said to him, you really are assuming only Mrs. Ramage could have answered the question that he was asking. Only she was called upon to respond to it. And if she had not responded to it, until she responded to it, President Sweat, I don't think you should have responded to it. President of the board or not, you should not have responded to that. My opinion. My opinion. Okay. Thank you, board. We've covered a lot of information tonight. Hope we can get back to school safely.
Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Anyone else? Okay. On item number 5, it's an action. This moves us to item number 5. It's an action item. It's the 2020-2021 calendar update. Ms. McCarthy from the RCSEA and Dr. Woods from Data Creator Principal and Bilingual Instructor.
Maria?
I'm here.
You want to talk or you want me to talk?
It doesn't matter.
I think we'd rather hear from you.
Me? Really? Okay, here we go. I'm here again with the calendar. So one of the things that had to be addressed this for this current calendar that you guys approved a while back was the fact that Governor Pritzker declared November 3rd as a holiday. And there were no waivers available for that to be able to be in school. So we had originally in our 2021 calendar had school on November 3rd. We did have to change that. So that was one of the first things we tackled. So we are out of school on November 3rd. We changed that with, and I'm sorry, I honestly, okay, Dr. Wood, which day did we trade that for? Was that the
Traded
good
out for Friday, April 2nd. which
Yep,
was
yes, that was from our 4-day weekend that we had scheduled for the Easter break. We took Good Friday, and that is now a student attendance day in exchange for the November 3rd. The two other places we made some adjustments were due to COVID-19 and our response to it. Folks felt it was very important for us to be able to make appointments with families and students at the beginning of the year to touch base and be able to distribute materials and information for what the school year might look like. So that's where we changed August 13th and 14th from original full student attendance days to those parent-teacher conference days. The 13th is currently one of our 5 state-given remote learning planning days. And the 14th is a parent-teacher conference day that was moved from March 12th. Dr. Woods, what else do you want to add?
That's it.
That's it.
That's it. Well, the first day of school is now
The 17th and 18th for the A Day, B Day students. They'll be starting that following Monday and Tuesday, the 17th and 18th. Teachers are still starting on the 11th with 2 days of Teacher Institute.
it's actually Tuesday and Wednesday, right?
What did I say? It's the 11th and 12th.
Yeah, so 17th and 18th, I mean, the 18th and 19th are the first 2 days of school.
That's right. Monday is remote. My apologies.
Yep.
My apologies. That's correct. I'm sorry.
Did you mention that the Teacher Institute originally scheduled for Friday, the 23rd, April 23rd is moved to Monday, April 19th?
Monday, April 19th as well, yes. And again, that was due to our scheduling and coordinating with the high school schedule of Mondays being remote learning days for all of our students. So we moved that institute so that we would still be able to have students on that Friday, the 23rd instead. So that pretty well sums up all of our schedule adjustments that we made both due to COVID and the November 3rd election day becoming a holiday where we're not in attendance.
Questions?
Dr. Wood, do you have any other comments? And does any board member have any questions, comments regarding the proposed schedule changes? Just double checking. Okay, then would someone care to make a motion to approve the updated calendar?
I'll make a motion to approve the updated 2020-2021 school calendar as presented.
Okay, Sandra, John was the one who actually made the motion. I don't think you heard that. So we'll have to read the second. Is that okay?
She nodded.
I can hear you.
What did he say?
Mr. Brotherton was the one who made the motion, but it's so delayed, plus you didn't hear because he didn't have his microphone on. So would you like to second it?
I'll second it.
Okay, so the motion was made by Mr. Brotherton, seconded by Ms. Uline. We'll need a roll call vote, please.
Robinson,
Aye.
Brotherton,
Aye.
Ulot,
Aye.
Keys,
Aye.
Graham.
He left the meeting.
Oh, okay. Fitzgerald, aye. And Sweat.
Aye. So we have 6 in favor. That motion carries and the calendar's been approved. Next was this item, action item number 6. This is consent agenda items. The consent agenda items we have board meeting minutes from June 18th, 2020 regular meeting and open meeting minutes. B, we have bills and the treasurer's report. C, We have description of the verbatim records of all closed meetings from January of 2019 and older. That's 18 months or older. D, approved depositories, Bank of Rantoul, EMO Harris, PMA, and Regions. And then E, we do have some donations and grants. Michelle, would you like to
Yes.
give information on that?
Yes, so Big Brothers Big Sisters, while neither of these funds come to RCS, we are directly positively impacted. The United Way did fund Big Brothers Big Sisters $22,500. That's towards a position here or that works with Rantoul. And the results of last March's Bowl for Kids' Sake raised about $20,000. So that gets us about 62% of the way there towards that position. I did speak with Corey from Big Brothers Big Sisters last week as to what does that position look like, how will this work, and they're working on that. We also discussed moving all matches that we have to off campus until COVID phase 4 has ended, till we've reopened all the way to phase 5. So our children could do those meetings with their bigs remotely because they should have an RCS Chromebook to do that and to use that for that purpose. The second thing is just a correction for United Way. We, as I announced before, we were awarded the after school program grant where we work with Don Moyer Boys and Girls Club. That is normally a 2-year grant. It is a 1-year grant due to COVID. So I originally said that we received $140,000 spread over 2 years. Well, now it's just $70,000 for 1 year. And I wanted to make sure that everybody understood. So we'll need to reapply again for next year. That's all.
That's everything that's in the consent agenda items for this portion of the meeting. Any board member have any questions, comments, concerns? Anyone think we need to take something, remove something and vote on it separately? If not, then would someone care to make the motion?
Make a motion to approve the consent agenda items, including the ratification of bills prepaid by the finance manager under board policy 450.
Okay, the motion was made by Ms. Fitzgerald. Someone care to second?
Second.
Okay, second by Mr. Keys. And we'll get a roll call vote again, please.
Keys,
Aye.
Fitzgerald, Robinson, Ulot,
Aye.
Brotherton,
Aye.
Graham. He's gone,
Absent.
sorry. Sweat.
Aye. Okay, that's unanimous. Six ayes. Consent agenda items have been approved and those have been paid. This moves us on to item number 8, because on item 7 we can omit because nothing was removed from the consent agenda section. And item 8 is an action items, safe routes to schools. The presentation occurred last month and is the recommendation of that the board approved this report and have it in place on the chance that there is a safe routes to schools grant application in the future. Any board member have any questions, comments, or concerns regarding this? Anybody remember the presentation from last time? Anybody who thinks that this is a good idea, would they care to make the motion?
I'll make the motion.
Okay, Mr. Brotherton made the motion to approve the Safe Routes to Schools report that was presented to the board on June 18th, 2020. Anyone care to second it?
I second it.
Okay, seconded by Mr. Robinson. And we'll need a roll call vote, please.
Ulot,
Aye.
Keys,
Aye.
Fitzgerald,
Aye.
Robinson,
Aye.
Brotherton,
Aye.
Sweat.
Aye. And that's another unanimous, and the plan has been approved. This is number 9, it's personnel. Anybody have any questions, comments, concerns regarding the personnel report that's been presented? If not, then would someone care to make the motion?
I move that we, I lost my place. I would make a motion to approve the personnel report as presented, including with the stipulation that each individual is required to comply with all requirements for new hires as indicated in Illinois statutes and RCS board policy and procedures.
Okay, the motion was made by Ms. Fitzgerald. Anyone care to second it?
I'll second.
Seconded by Mr. Brotherton. And we'll need a roll call vote, please.
Fitzgerald,
Aye.
Brotherton,
Aye.
Robinson,
Aye.
Keys,
Aye.
Lot,
Aye.
Swett.
Aye. And unanimous, motion carries. Personnel report has been approved. This is item number 10, which is an action item. It's for bread, milk, and produce bids results. At Millie's Bakery, Cloverleaf Farms, and Central Illinois Produce provided the lowest bids as presented in our packet. All three are companies we work with currently. We are happy to with their work. Big shout out to Cloverleaf Farms for milk, for being so flexible this spring. Food distribution was so much easier with their willingness to work with us. Anybody have any questions or comments or concerns regarding the bid results? If not, then would someone care to make a motion?
I'll make a motion.
Mr. Brotherton made the motion to approve Millie's Bakery for bread, Cloverleaf Farms for milk, and Central Illinois Produce for produce.
I second.
Seconded by Ms. Fitzgerald. And we will need a roll call vote, please.
Brotherton,
Aye.
Robinson,
Aye.
Fitzgerald, aye. Lot,
Aye.
Keys,
Aye.
Swett.
Aye. And it's unanimous, that motion carries and has been approved. Moving to item number 11, it's an action item. It's the 2020 to 2021 tentative budget. Ms. Ravage?
Yes, I will be very brief because next month you will have a presentation on the tentative budget with Kendra Good. Right now, Kendra is on vacation, so I will do my best to just give a very brief overview. We will have more details next month. We have to put this on display now. It needs to be on display for 30 days. There are not 30 days between now and, between August and September board meetings, so we have to post this now. And I'm just going to give 5 brief comments that we will go into detail later. We will probably not receive any additional evidence-based funding for tier funding. We will give that dollar amount to you when we do our presentation. We no longer will receive our annual TIF payment of $310,000. That was when the village made us whole for the TIF. We did reduce the 1% sales tax by $90,000 due to anticipation of less spending during COVID during the last 3 months and likely the upcoming year. Added late real estate taxes of $854,000 that should have come to us in June last fiscal year and instead came to us July. And we did reduce our health insurance to anticipated costs down by $382,000. You can ask questions. I may or may not have the answer, but we will have a full detail for you next month.
Okay, so any board member have any questions or comments or concerns regarding the tentative budget? If not, then would someone care to make a motion to approve the tentative budget?
I make a motion to approve the 2021 tentative budget as presented was made by myself.
Motion made by Mr. Robinson. Someone care to second it? Seconded by Mr. Brotherton, and we'll need a roll call vote, please.
Lot,
Aye.
Brotherton,
Aye.
Fitzgerald, aye. Keys,
Aye.
Robinson,
Aye.
Swett.
Aye. And it's unanimous, and the tentative budget has been approved. Moves on to item number 12, which is an action item. It's FY21 ESSA School Improvement Plan and ESSER budget and planned expenses. And it'll be presented by Ms. Ramage.
Yeah, actually, we thought Jenny was going to be in the other room, but she's going to come up and go ahead and present that.
Okay, then Ms. Furley can present it.
Okay, so this is just going to be a summary of the funding that we will be receiving this year, and to give you a little bit of an idea and outline of what we use our federal grant money for. So Title I allocation, we get 809,027, and that is divided on a per pupil allocation to each of the buildings. You can see approximately how much each school gets. Broad Meadow with 117,000, East Lawn 131,000, Marshall 115,000, PA 158,000, and Ader 215,000. St. Malachi gets their portion of 18,000, and then we use about 52,000 for district-wide activities. So we use those funds to pay for the literacy specialists that we have at each of our buildings. We have 2 media specialists that work in the library that we use, pay for out of Title I. We use it for most of our supplemental instructional materials to support STEM, and a lot of the literacy materials that we purchase. Our online instructional licenses, JW Ader summer school and after school programs. Pretty much all of our professional development comes out of Title I. Family engagement activities in buildings and across the district, and then the funding for St. Malachi. Title II, that is for recruitment and retention. That's the intention for Title II funds. We get 78,815. We pay most of our longevity bonuses for ESL, master's degrees, hard to fill positions. And then St. Malachi gets a portion of that as well, 6,063. Title IV is the Well-Rounded Child Safe Schools grant, and we get 55,057 in Title IV money. We use that for enrichment stuff for STEM, art, music, PE. We also do various technology equipment. There is a cap on how much you can spend out of Title IV for technology, but we do use some of that for technology. Professional development, specifically for music, art, PE, ESL. And then St. Malachi gets a portion of that as well, 4,245. So school improvement grant, that is the 3-year grant, and we are on year 2 out of 3. This has not been released yet. So we're assuming we're still getting it. These are the amounts that we would get in year 2. Broad Meadow, Northview, PA, and Ader each get 20,000, and East Lawn gets 60,000. And that has to do with their the status of the school through the school report card. We use those funds specifically designed for those at-risk student groups as part of the school improvement plan. We do professional development to support teachers in those areas, family engagement activities and events, and then of course the Empower partners that we have that support our schools, and that's Roosevelt University and the Regional Office of Education. We have new money. You want to talk about it?
It doesn't matter. I can try. I'll jump in. So we have some new funds. You've heard about CARES dollars. So our state calls that ESSER, ESSER, and we get about $700,000 for that. I didn't break it down by building, but I can tell you what we're going to use it for. We got about 6 or 7 items here. Technology assistant, the wages and benefits for that, and also Chromebooks and those hotspots that we talked about. Instructional materials to support in-person and remote learning, PPE for students and staff, cleaning supplies, including those e-sprayer machines that we talked about, health services needs, thermometers and water bottles, food service needs, professional development, and our private schools, we anticipate will get about $50,000. We also just learned from ISBE on Tuesday that the governor is providing some more dollars. And it's brand new. The grant just came out. We have a webinar on July 23rd to learn more details. But from what I understand, the focus of this is to assist with that digital divide that has been talked about quite a bit tonight. So there's a whole calculation used to figure out that grant amount. So we'll bring back to you more information on this. We should have that by next month. Any questions on the grants?
Anybody have any questions? Sandra, Mark? Okay, if nobody has any questions, I want someone here to make a motion to approve.
I'll make a motion to approve the fiscal year 21 ESSA, SIP, and ESSER budget and expenses.
Okay, Ms. Fitzgerald made the motion,
I'll second.
seconded by Mr. Keys, and we'll need a roll call vote, please.
Ulot,
Aye.
Keys.
Aye.
Fitzgerald. Aye. Robinson.
Aye.
Brotherton.
Aye.
Sweat.
Aye. Okay, it's unanimous there, and so the budget and expenses have been approved. This one, item 13 is an action item for board policies. Michelle?
Yep. So we have two sections of this. Part of this is for first reading tonight. We'll bring it back in August for board approval. And those are board policies 2:220, and that's school board meeting procedures. A lot of that we already went through tonight. And 7.340 is revolving student records, and 7.345 use of technology, educational technology, and having to do with student data privacy and security. And there is a question involved that the board needs to answer for that one. Pretty much asks, do we have a designated privacy officer? We do not. The default answer is no, we don't have a privacy officer. That's what I would recommend for next month. For tonight, we would ask board approval of the following board policies, and then there is one exhibit, but the exhibit has to do with board work. So you approve that exhibit. Usually you do not approve an exhibit, but the first one is, oh, I have that on there twice. Yeah, this one's an error. Okay. So we do need you to approve 2:220 school board meeting procedures tonight. My microphone just died. Yep, hold on. Hold on. So to clarify, the 2:220, that it does need to be approved tonight, sorry. And those are the board meeting procedures that we kind of went through and talked about. There is an exhibit, and that has to do with during this epidemic, do we need to have a quorum? How do we have the quorum? Can you be remote? What are the reasons? And most of those were things that Bill spoke about tonight. 4.180 is pandemic preparedness, management, and recovery. There are a couple of questions that go with that. And one of them has to do with a policy committee rather than, do you want this to be a policy committee that takes care of this? Or rather than the board president or superintendent? We do not have a policy committee, so the default also that IASB chose was no. So that's what's recommended. Question number 2 has to do with, did the board adopt an e-learning plan prior to this epidemic? We did not. We did not have a formal process for an e-learning plan. You approved a plan in the spring during the pandemic. That is not an official e-learning plan that was in place as an option before any of that happened. So that would have been posted in the newspaper. We would have had a hearing, all of those things. We did not do those things. We do not have an e-learning plan. So the answer for that question, I'm telling you, would be no for that. And then the last board approval needed for tonight is 7.190, called student behavior. So administration is recommending that the board adopt this policy, allowing the use of timeout and physical restraint in compliance with ISBE rules and Illinois School Code, but prohibiting the use of isolated timeout in our schools. The board already approved to no longer allow isolated timeout. You've already done that. You've done that for some years now. Again, Rancho City Schools does not allow the use of isolated timeout. However, students may be placed in state-operated or non-public special education facilities and residential facilities that do utilize isolated timeout. In such cases, these facilities must utilize isolated timeout in accordance with the state statute and ISBE rules. So this policy updates the rules and regulations for timeout and physical restraint. You've heard this going on and on and on at ISBE for the last year or so. So we also added for you in the board packet, if you wanted to look at it, the administrative procedures that we also are going to update. You don't need to approve administrative procedures, but we had added 7-190 Administrative Procedure 4 in case you wanted to see what those changes were to match and update the board policy. So tonight we need you to approve. Yeah, I have some typos in here. So I think what I have written is right. 2-220 and 220 for 180 and 7-190 tonight, and the rest are for next month.
Does any board members have any questions? Board policies that we're asked to approve this evening? If not, then for board policy 4:180, pandemic preparedness, for question 1.
What I recommend.
Does the board all agree that the answer is no, the default, our district is not served by an intermediate service center? Does everybody agree that that answer should be no?
Yes.
Okay.
And question number 2, you don't really get a choice. The answer is no, we don't have an e-learning plan in place in this manner. So there isn't.
We agree that question number 2, no is the answer. Sorry. We all agree that that's going to be no. Question number 2, correct? Okay.
Yes.
And then question number 3 is for remote learning. Does have the board adopted the e-learning program? We're going to say that answer is no, correct? Because we adopted something, but it wasn't an official plan. Okay. Then with those 3 questions answered, then and if there are any other discussions or questions or comments regarding this, does someone care to make a motion to approve
2:220 and 2:220E9 and 4:180 and 7:190. I want to make sure it's correct.
You said 220 twice. It's 2:20 and then 2:220.
Right, it's 2:220 is the board policy. There's a typo on there.
Oh.
2:220E9 is the exhibit. So both. That's why I wanted to read what the motion should say.
Because that exhibit should we not have a forum, then board president has to fill all that information out.
Yeah, I made the motion.
Thank you.
Motion was made by Mr. Brotherton.
I'll second.
And seconded by Mr. Keys. And we'll need a roll call vote, please.
Robinson.
Aye.
Brotherton.
Aye.
Ulot.
Aye.
Keys.
Aye.
Fitzgerald. Aye. Sweat.
Aye. And that's unanimous, motion carries. So those 3 policies have been approved, and the other ones will be first review, and then we'll decide on those at the next meeting.
Yep.
This moves us to item number 14. It's an action item, student, parent, staff, and substitute handbook updates. And superintendent?
Yes, I provided you with the document that we will send out to parents and staff that are updated for school operations during a pandemic or other health emergency. It applies to things such as wearing masks and self-certification and all of those details. Then the other item that we need to add, this one in particular, to the student handbook, student parent handbook, is related service logs. So for children with an IEP, a school district must provide the parent or guardian information on related service logs within 20 school days from the beginning of the school year or upon establishment, I believe, upon request. So I just need a motion to approve that these are in addition to the handbooks that you already approved a couple months ago.
I make a motion to approve the updated sections of the parent student substitute and staff handbook as presented.
Okay, motion was made by Ms. Fitzgerald,
I'll second.
seconded by Mr. Keys. Roll call vote.
Keys,
Aye.
Fitzgerald, aye. Robinson,
Aye.
Ulot,
Aye.
Brotherton,
Aye.
Sweat.
Aye. Okay, that's unanimous. Unanimous. It's been approved, and we approve the updates. Next, item 15. It's an action item. It's the additional position. Sorry, I'm trying to hold off a call. It's for a part-time nurse, preferred for.
Okay, I'll go, or a health clerk. So we're looking for an additional position for a part-time nurse, which is preferred, or a health clerk. Due to the COVID-19 and our increasing health needs, we're recommending that we add that position. This will likely be a temporary position for 1 year unless, another position opens and there goes mine. And they would be able to to qualify for that position. So we'd like approval for that.
Anybody? There it goes again.
It's not working.
Hello.
There you go.
Anybody? Any? Oh, my goodness. Any board member? Hello?
It's the batteries probably. This is a long meeting.
Hello? Okay, any board member have any questions, comments regarding this part-time nurse position, or what's preferred for health clerk? No? Want someone care to make a motion?
I'll make a motion.
Hold on. The motion is missing. So
Yeah.
therefore,
Just make a
someone
motion.
care to make a motion
I'll make a motion.
to add the additional position of part-time nurse preferred for health clerk? Mr. Brotherton made the motion,
I'll second.
seconded by Ms. Uly. And we'll need a roll call vote, please.
Fitzgerald, aye. Brotherton,
Aye.
Robinson,
Aye.
Keys,
Aye.
Ulot,
Aye.
Sweat.
Aye. And that's unanimous, motion carries, so official position has been approved. Moves us to item number 16, which is board superintendent comments. Superintendent, do you have any comments? At this time, any board member have any comments, questions, concerns? We brought with the board at this time? No? Okay. This moves us on to item number 17. It's an informational item. First item is an employee assistance program utilization report, which was presented to us in our board packet. Second item, B, FOIA. Two FOIAs. We had Smart Procure. It's for purchasing records. And the employee cost for that was $8.56. The second one is from Deborah Sweat, SRO. Employee cost for that was $47.32. Upcoming events, like they mentioned earlier in the presentation, July 31st, the Carl Mobile Clinic, limited registration from 10 to 4 at Ader. The mobile clinic is by appointment only, and all info already sent to kindergartners and 6th grade parents. August 11th is going to be the opening day for staff. August 13th through 14th, parent teachers conference days. The 18th is going to be the first day for A students. That's just going to be A-day students. The 19th is the first day for B-Day students. And then for the board members, July 20th is the deadline that the superintendent will need information on whether or not you're planning on attending the triple one conference. If nobody else has anything for the board, then this is item number 20. It's for adjournment. So if someone can make a motion.
I make a motion, we adjourn.
And if you guys don't mind, if I can use unanimous consent, and declare this meeting adjourned. Anybody object?
No.
No. And I'll second it just to make it.
John Brown seconded, just so unanimous consent. This meeting is adjourned.
Yes.
Thank you all for being in attendance.
Good night, everybody.
Thanks.